Introducing the game Evil Queen Maker, our MC explains that the goal is to train the weakest demon lord. As an absolute hit, the folks praise the classic simulation vibe of the masterpiece. Acting like the world's biggest fanboy, our boy spent nights defending the title online. But suddenly, everything goes down the drain because the game's quality completely tanked. With a rushed expansion, the devs completely wrecked the player's experience. By adding wild and nonsensical endings, the community was hit hard with disappointment. Full of rage, our little MC went off in a super salty review. But surprisingly, the creators who never replied to anyone sent him a message. Challenging the kid straight to his face, the team told him to make a better ending himself. Immediately, a bizarre flash pulls our hero right into the monitor. Falling into a dark abyss full of magical energy, he understands absolutely nothing. Totally lost, the poor guy wonders where on earth he ended up. Right then, a spooky red eye stares deep into his soul, feeling a sinister presence in the middle of the smoke. He tries to figure out who's there. In the midst of the confusion, distorted voices in his head make the panic even worse. Waking up with a massive headache, our MC blinks, trying to focus his vision. Right off the bat, giant iron gates leave the guy totally shocked. Looking around, the scenery reveals an absurdly huge castle. Quickly, it starts to dawn on him because that place is way too familiar. By the flag waving at the top, he recognizes the logo of his favorite game. Sweating cold, reality hits hard, proving he ended up inside the virtual world. Checking his own body, the boy figures out he took over a character's identity. At that exact moment, an elderly butler approaches, calling him Lord Nan. Caught off guard, the kid freezes upon hearing that name. Staring at the old man, he instantly recognizes the figure of Cain, the classic game helper. With lines identical to the tutorial, the NPC confirms all his suspicions. Deeply thankful, the old man reveals that our MC is now the official mentor of the Demon Lord. Instantly, the memory of the dev's sassy message makes his blood boil. It becomes clear then that the challenge was literal, and he has to fix the story the hard way. Not far from there, a door opens, revealing the voice of an anxious little girl. Dressed elegantly, the little one tries to give off a mature vibe to impress. But holding a teddy bear, the poor thing thinks she looks a bit weird. Completely melting from the cuteness, the maid can't help but praise her boss. Fixing the girl's hair, the servant says it's just nerves over the teacher's arrival. Suddenly, the kiddo gets all happy seeing a pudding dessert arriving. On the inside, the maid suffers in silence with so much cuteness thrown in her face. Knocking firmly on the door, the butler announces his presence. With pure class, the old man lets them know the new teacher has finally arrived. Jumping out of her chair, the little girl tries to keep her leader posture. During her imposing walk down the hallway, she gets a proud smile out of Cain. Sitting on a giant throne that swallows her size, the little one says they can enter. With a loud thud, the main hall doors swing wide open. Slowly, our MC steps into the room, locking eyes with the Demon Lord. Doing a super stylish bow, he formally introduces himself with his new name. In the boy's head, the lore says she is the last heir of a powerful bloodline. Flashing back, the story goes that the girl's dad was taken out in a fierce battle 2 years ago. At just 5 years old, the poor thing had to carry the throne on her back. Because of that, the family's power plummeted to the absolute bottom of the demon rankings. Breaking the tense mood, the little girl skips happily toward our hero. Up close, the greeting leaves him completely speechless. Straight to the point, the shorty says she's an obedient student now, and he can drop the formalities. Patting her head, the kid asks to be called professor. Full of confidence, he swears he's going to turn the kiddo into the strongest ruler ever. Smiling from ear to ear, the little one accepts the promise with her eyes sparkling. However, turning his back and leaving the room, our boy's expression completely flips. Collapsing on the hallway floor, the panic hits hard and he thinks he's gonna pass out. Shaking all over, the poor guy curses himself for accepting this raw deal. Thinking about his life choices, he admits he knew the game inside out. In real life, the pain hits because clicking a mouse is way easier than living the craziness. Blushing hard, he freaks out because he doesn't even know how to spark a tiny bit of magic to teach. Thinking about the student's tragic past makes the guy's conscience weigh a little. Suddenly, an intense golden glow takes over our MC's eye. Soon, a flood of images and a bizarre headache bring back old memories. Realizing what was going down, he figures out he inherited the real Nan's memories. With this reveal, the kid gets that the body's original owner was an absolute unit. Now with a sinister smile, the motivation is back and he decides to dominate everything. Focused on total victory, the plan is to aim for the best possible ending for the game. Fast forwarding, the time skips to the next morning. The next day, class takes place outdoors in a super gorgeous garden. All hyped up at her school desk, the little one asks the teacher about the subject. A bit tense, our MC notices she brought her teddy bear to class. Trying to keep the master posture, he points to the board and starts explaining the theory. From the VIP seats, the old butler smiles proudly watching the new teacher do his thing. Crouching to the girl's height, he asks her to pay close attention to the fundamentals. Ready to study, the demon lord pets her bear while paying attention to the lesson. Super confused, the little one asks about the Demon Kingdom's history class. Bursting her bubble, our MC lets her know today's focus is purely mana control. Feeling a bit awkward, the demon lord is told she's acting way too perfect. Then, the master explains that to protect her people, she needs to understand her own power first. Super confident, the girl claps back saying she already finished her royal studies. Snapping his fingers, our hero drops the truth bomb that theory only works if you put it into practice. Out of nowhere, a magic scroll covered in runes appears floating around. Curious, the shorty wants to know what it is and finds out it's a special training diary. Playing dirty, the teacher promises to give her lots of pudding as a reward if she does everything right. Back to the magic topic, he sketches a diagram about the core and usable mana. Raising her little hand, the kiddo asks what defines the amount of mana. Projecting a sick demon hologram, our MC reveals the secret of magic circuits. He then details that the more circuits you have, the more energy flows through the body. Catching the drift, the student cracks the riddle and gets a solid compliment for her smarts. Eating up the hype, the little girl jokes that a compliment can make even a whale dance. Commenting on the energy limit, the guy teaches that hard work can expand the circuits. Without warning, he releases a colossal blast of red mana, startling everyone. Showing the results in practice, he promises she can do that too one day. Shocked by the flex, the old butler realizes that power is way too absurd for a simple teacher. Even being a nobody, our MC earns the veteran's immediate respect. With sparkling eyes, the student asks if she can reach that level and gets a big yes. Hyping the girl up for real, he reminds her of her powerful bloodline, making the little one promise to work hard. Far away from there, the gossip that the weakest lord got a mentor spreads like wildfire. Full of attitude, the lord of the 17th floor calls the girl useless trash. Nearby, another horned lord just wants to know if this news brings in any cash. Not giving a care, a third lord arrogantly ignores the update. While some find it boring, other underworld big shots think the story is pretty interesting. In the shadows, a guy in a suit reports he investigated the name Nan and found absolutely nothing. Taking a sinister bath, a mysterious woman flashes a wicked smile. Hyped about the tea, the seductive demoness orders her goons to get ready for some fun. Dropping from exhaustion, the little lord swears she'll finish her homework no matter what. Right at that moment, the fox maid shows up and thinks her boss's condition is weird. About to talk about the homework, the little girl notices the servant's tail is wagging kinda funny. Worried, the kiddo asks if everything is okay with the staff member. A bit distracted, the fox just replies by asking what Her Majesty desires. Tossing a broom right at the poor girl, the kiddo demands she starts cleaning everything that very second. Caught off guard, the maid doesn't get the sudden aggression at all. Cleaning the hall, the servant uses her own mana to get the job done faster. Putting the pieces together, the fox realizes that crazy order was part of the training diary. Impressed with the master's tactic, she thinks it's genius to force the girl to give leader commands. Playing along, the employee bows and accepts the command with total humility. Seeing the tactic worked, the demon lord flashes a mission accomplished smile. Running super happy to her next class, the shorty leaves the maid melting with love. Skipping through the garden, the girl's energy is totally contagious. Reaching the meeting spot, she drops a cheerful good morning to our hero and the butler. Praising the student's effort, our MC decides she deserves a gift. Looking at her teddy bear, the girl gets thoughtful about what to ask for. Pitching an idea, the old butler says a friend for the bear would be great. Pouting and looking sad, the little girl refuses the gift in a super suspicious way. Reading the room, our boy figures out the castle is broke just like in the original game. Petting the little one, he promises he's gonna sort out this financial mess. Completely confused, the demon lord has no clue where he's getting money from. Turning around, the guy grills the butler about the budget cuts in the castle. Throwing it in the old man's face, he asks if it wouldn't be great to see the girl happy with a new toy. Sighing heavily, the elderly man feels the weight of responsibility hit him. Confirming the desire to spoil the boss, the butler is left with no way out. Calming the veteran down, our hero lets him know he has zero interest in the kingdom's cash. Touching his ally's shoulder, he explains that everyone has their own specialty in this mission. Full of confidence, the master announces he's going to use his talents to make the girl the greatest lord ever. Tugging on the teacher's coat sleeve, the shorty gets his attention. With a sincere look, the little girl says she blindly trusts the professor's plan. Flashing an adorable smile, she asks him to make lots of money for them. Flashing a confident grin, our MC guarantees they'll be swimming in cash real soon. Changing the subject, he pulls the student to class while the butler wonders if he can truly trust him. Already on the training field, the master tells the girl to focus on moving her magic. Channeling all her energy, the little one gets covered in a crazy red aura. Watching the power, the guy's jaw drops at the girl's raw strength for her current level. Clapping his hands, he stops the exercise before she passes out. Wiping his boss's sweat, the butler takes care of her while the teacher points out her stamina is trash. Petting her head, our hero decides the next step is heavy physical training. A while later, the poor thing runs non-stop around the garden, practically coughing up her lungs. Striking up a conversation with the old man, the guy asks what the girl's obsession with that teddy bear is. Spilling the past, the butler reveals the toy was the last gift from her departed dad. Connecting the dots, our boy remembers her dad's passing is a massive mystery in the game's lore. Suddenly, a messenger ruins the peace, screaming desperately for the head butler. Panting, the elf messenger runs up and delivers a letter from the Lord of the 71st floor. Instantly, the old butler freezes with worry over this sudden demand from the big shots. Remembering the game's lore, our MC knows any change in lords throws the whole kingdom off balance. With a wicked smile, the guy realizes this chaos was exactly what he was waiting for. A few days later, the castle's main gates swing wide open with a bang. Tense inside the luxury carriage, the driver looks like he's about to have a meltdown from nerves. Right then, our hero ironically comments that even a random goon finds it an honor to be there. Without beating around the bush, he reveals that scared guy is actually a disguise for the feared Baphomet. Totally in shock, the butler and the fox almost fall backwards at the info. Surprised by the sharpness, the disguised driver finds the kid's trickiness fascinating. In that instant, the real boss steps out of the shadows, flexing an absurd aura of power. With firm steps, she steals the show and proves why she's one of the most feared lords. Never dropping his cool, our MC bows greeting Her Majesty Citri. Impressed that he saw through the disguise, the woman admits the kid isn't a nobody. Finishing the thought, she says a random guy could never mentor a lord, and he coolly agrees. Furious, the old butler thinks her arrogant and disrespectful tone is total garbage. Straight to the point, the demoness asks the reason for the invite, but the boy tells them to step inside first. Suddenly, a guard steps in the way, announcing it's seer territory and demanding respect. Completely outraged, the guest lord seethes with anger at being stopped by lowly goons. Quickly changing her tune, she claims she's there on business to help the ruler of the 72nd floor. From afar, Baphomet realizes our master used the visit to establish the little one's authority in the castle. After apologizing for the rudeness, the guy escorts the woman to the fancy guest room. Before walking in, Her Majesty orders her disguised bodyguard to wait outside. Walking through the halls, the guest notices the castle lost a ton of staff due to the crisis. Keeping it real, our hero confirms they're broke and she sarcastically asks whose fault that is. Already seated in the room, the woman demands the kiddo's presence since she owns the place. Full of herself, the demoness claims she has super urgent money matters to discuss right there. At that moment, she notices the guy staring and mocks him, asking if he's trying to seduce her. Quickly shutting down the joke, he lets her know he handles the cash and business goes through him. While sipping her tea, the visitor drops the bill, claiming her soldiers were lost defending the girl's turf. Shamelessly, the woman says her army has no obligation to fight the humans all by themselves. Deep down, our MC thinks her attitude is total trash and doesn't hide his disgust. A bit confused, the rich lord asks if she heard the guy's muttered insult correctly. After taking a sip of tea, the boy calmly confirms he straight up called her garbage. In a flash, the woman slams her teacup on the table, furious at the teacher's audacity. Soon, a wicked aura takes over her body, demanding immediate respect for being top tier. Super chill, our hero asks if all this outrage is just from hearing a few truths. Next, he throws it in her face that she forced debt onto a kid and now wants to milk even more cash. Consumed by rage, Her Majesty bursts into flames, yelling about the mortal kid's arrogance. Showing zero mercy, she summons a brutal fire magic to wreck the entire room. Certain she won, the demoness declares that's divine punishment for disrespecting a lord. In the blink of an eye, the lethal blast tears through the air straight at the guy. Unbothered, he raises his hand, regretting they couldn't settle things peacefully. Instantly, the sound of a finger snap echoes through the room, silencing the destruction. Mysteriously, the deadly flames vanish into thin air without leaving a single scratch on him. Utterly stunned, the woman can't process how her ultimate attack just evaporated. Right then, our MC changes his tone and calls the Lord by her name with major authority. Straight up, He suggests they have a truly civilized chat now. With his eyes glowing magically, the boy announces he's sitting on an offer she can't refuse. Freaked out, the demoness sees a monstrous illusion of a giant eye behind the guy's back. Still acting tough, she doubts the offer, but he guarantees it'll be impossible to pass up the deal. Without dragging it out, the master reveals the topic involves the magic seals locking her true power. Instantly, the visitor's eyes go wide with shock at the reveal. Nervous, the woman asks if he understands the weight of his words and how dangerous that is. Dropping knowledge, he mentions she used to be rank 12 before losing her strength to the curse. As a final flex, the kid reveals the seal stone is sitting with a lord from the upper floors. Using magic, our hero summons a scroll in mid-air, calling the powerhouse to close the deal. Opening the contract, the promise is crystal clear about breaking the chains and giving her power back. Still suspicious, Her Majesty wants to know how a simple human could pull off such a miracle. With an ironic grin, he points to his own face, reminding her she just saw his strength firsthand. Remembering the bizarre energy from earlier, the woman admits that was just a fraction of his monstrous strength. Curious about the dude's real identity, the demoness only hears that he's the Lord's humble teacher. Wasting no time, the guy asks if she's gonna sign the paperwork or what. While reading, the woman sees the kiddo would get cash and military advisors in return. Thinking fast, she realizes the true jackpot of the deal is getting the teacher's full support for herself. Ultimately, the Lord concludes that betting on that monster disguised as a master is a guaranteed win. With a sly smile, she admits this risky bet is totally worth it. Promptly, our boy hands over a sharp knife, demanding the signature be sealed in blood. Without hesitating, the woman pricks her finger and stamps the scroll, making the whole drama official. Soon, a magical glow seals the unbreakable pact between the mighty Citri and the mysterious Nan. Deal done, the mystic paper glows bright red, locking in the alliance. To wrap up the union, our MC thanks her for the partnership and puts himself at the new boss's service. After healing the cut, the visitor returns the gesture, sealing the peace between them. Later on, the master brings the little one to the hall and announces the kingdom's new sponsor. Super shy, the little girl does an adorable bow, while the woman tries to hide her bored face dealing with kids. Giving the new ally a heads up, our MC says he'll have to teach her basic manners. With an exhausted sigh, Her Majesty agrees to try and get along. At that moment, the powerhouse locks eyes directly with the little lord. Wasting no time, the guy explains how the contract between them is going to work. Flashing a huge grin, he claims the feared demoness is now his student too. Totally outraged, the woman thinks this joke is completely absurd. Full of attitude, she throws it in his face that the kiddo is just useless bottom-tier trash. Scared, the little girl hides while the master points out that the lord was the one begging for help. Dropping facts, our hero states the visitor thinks she's already hit her power ceiling. However, he guarantees Her Majesty can get way stronger, leaving her jaw dropping. Recalling the monstrous power the guy showed off earlier, the woman starts shaking with anticipation. On the inside, the boy remembers that in the original game, this alliance was a guaranteed ticket to success. Cutting the chat, the master tells the new partner to hit the road for now. Boiling with rage, the demoness pounds her chest, demanding they visit her since she's royalty. Jealous, the little lord grabs the teacher's leg and yells that he's all hers. Sighing in defeat, the woman agrees to visit the castle once a week. Immediately, the kiddo shoots a death glare, thinking the snob is desperate to see the MC. Flashing a mysterious smile, our boy leaves the tension hanging in the air. And just like that, the Grand Military Alliance is successfully locked down. Soon the new ally's beastly advisors roll into the castle courtyard. Full of arrogance, the outsiders call the little girl's guards bastards. Stepping up, the blue-haired vice commander tells the punks to keep talking. With a brutal squeeze on the shoulder, the crocodile mocks the guard, telling him to train harder. Biting his tongue in rage, the vice commander swallows the disrespect and walks away. From the top of the wall, the fox commander watches the humiliation, knowing the vibe is awful. A few days later, our hero strolls down the halls looking super deep in thought. Out of nowhere, the woman blows up, asking if the kid is looking for a fight. Super chill in his chair, he hugs his student and says he's way too busy integrating the armies. With that manipulator look, the master humbly asks for a little favor from Her Majesty. Clicking her tongue, the demoness realizes she got played and promises payback. Smiling cynically, the guy jokes that all this hate is excellent motivation. Looking down at the shorty on his lap, he also asks her to put the final touches on the plan. Walking out to the training yard, our MC's crew meets up with the commanders. Straight up, he announces they're there to test the squad's combat skills. Flashing a crooked smile, the vice commander thinks the teacher is just playing leader. Catching the attitude, The kid asks straight up if the soldier has ever commanded an army in his life. Not backing down, the blue-haired warrior replies that merging different troops isn't a joke. With his eyes gleaming, the master challenges the guard to watch how a real pro does it. Glaring daggers at the guy, the vice commander promises to watch very closely. A bit later, the big crocodile and a soldier lock eyes on the field. On the third training ground, the drama between the allied troops starts drawing a crowd. Sizing up the vice commander from afar, our hero admits the dude is a solid fighter and super loyal. However, the soldier's loyalty is strictly to the demon lord and nobody else. Right then, the crocodile advisor rolls up acting super familiar, pressing the teacher. Slapping a heavy hand on the kid's shoulder, the beast tries to demand respect by force. With a mocking grin, our MC keeps it real, saying he took in a bunch of lost souls. Boiling with anger, the scaly monster squeezes the boy's shoulder, threatening to rip a chunk off. Cold as ice, the guy points out that this handshake is getting way too violent. In a super fast move, he twists the giant's hand, making the beast groan in pain. At that exact second, the little lord steps forward, telling the beast to back off. Flexing his authority, the master announces the advisor now answers to this new ruler. Foaming at the mouth, the big guy thinks they're disrespecting his old boss. Showing zero mercy, our hero shoves the little girl right in the monster's face. Full of cuteness and swagger, the kiddo stares down the croc, showing who's boss. Instantly, the warrior's heart melts in the face of the little lord's extreme sweetness. Trying to keep his tough guy act, the beast shakes his head, swearing loyalty to his old boss. Seeing the big guy's stubbornness, the professor raises his hand, prepping a heavy spell. Out of nowhere, absurd gravity crushes the entire rebel army against the stone floor. Totally paralyzed, the blue vice commander can't believe the insane amount of magic. Walking among the downed soldiers, the guy announces this is their absolute last chance to survive. Staring the crocodile right in the eyes, he gives him the choice to fade into the past or embrace a new future. Shaking in his boots, the beast repeats he only follows Her Majesty Citri's orders. Snapping his fingers, our MC agrees that this level of loyalty is super useful. Right away, the magical pressure vanishes, letting the squad breathe a sigh of relief. Stomping into the courtyard, the powerhouse woman shows up, calling her own goons idiots. Going off, she screams that the alliance isn't just on paper and demands obedience. Taking the cue, the guy points to the demoness, confirming she's the bridge between the floors. Whispering in her ear, the master reminds her that support is key for the war that's brewing. On his knees, the crocodile apologizes, but the boss tells him she isn't the one he should be begging. Getting the message, the monster points at the shorty and pledges loyalty on the spot. Following their leader's cue, the whole army raises their weapons, shouting the little ruler's name. While the vice commander's jaw hits the floor, the kiddo practically explodes with happiness. Winking at his ally, our hero confirms the little show worked out perfectly. With her eyes shining with pride, the little girl gives a super confident thumbs up to the teacher. On the same wavelength, the boy signals back, confirming the world domination plan is right on track. Seeing the squad is finally on the same page, the tall lord celebrates the alliance's success. Taking advantage of the calm, our MC pulls the little girl aside for a serious chat in the corner. Suddenly, he holds both of her hands in a super sweet gesture. Soon the guy asks her to let go of his hand to make the next exercise easier, but she stubbornly refuses. Pouting hard, the kiddo refuses to let go of her teacher for anything in the world. Not wanting to fight, the visitor laughs, finding the cute scene hilarious. Right then, the woman loses it and presses the master, asking when on earth her training is going to start. Full of patience, the kid assures her they can train exactly like that. Walking to the middle of the field, he announces today's class is going to be pure brawling. Suddenly, an explosion of monstrous black aura blasts Her Majesty away with insane force. Locking eyes with his loud student, the professor gives the challenge of the day land, just one hit on him. Totally outraged, the lord complains that this kind of basic training won't help at all. With a wicked smile, he guarantees it'll be more than enough to make her break a sweat. Before the demoness can even blink, the master is already right in her face, crushing the poor thing with magic pressure. Completely pinned to the ground, the woman realizes the monster is infinitely stronger than in the past. Taunting his opponent, the master tells her to break free from the energy and try to at least leave a scratch on him. Groaning in pain, Her Majesty has no clue what kind of absurd magic is paralyzing her completely. Watching the scene, the little lord is amazed at how easily the professor dominates the tall lady. Mocking the woman's face, the guy asks how she plans to get her power back if she's trembling over so little. Furious at the humiliation, the demoness gathers all her strength, swearing the guy is begging for a serious beatdown. Explaining the tactic, our MC states that on the higher floors, the atmospheric and magical pressure is unbearable. To survive, the partner needs to learn to adapt under total crushing weight, which also expands her magic circuits. Super worried, the little girl points out that the auntie over there is suffering way too much with the exercise. Calming the kiddo, our hero explains that this suffering is the main point of the workout. Showing no mercy, the boy drops the truth, saying that in the near future, the shorty will go through the exact same hell. Cut to the end of the day, with the sunset covering the castle, and the professor asking the Lord to take it easy. Panting heavily, the woman takes a deep breath while the professor makes fun of her lack of stamina. Still stubborn, she tries to throw a surprise punch, but her whole body freezes midway from pure exhaustion. Acknowledging her potential, our MC admits it's no surprise Her Majesty used to be rank 12 back in the day. Impressed with the brutal lesson, the little student asks to learn too, wanting to get strong just like her kingdom partner. Bursting with pride, the guy thinks her interest is adorable but worries the girl might get hurt training that hard. Switching gears, he decides to teach a mid-level spell based on what they studied earlier. Getting off the ground out of nowhere, the visiting lord complains about the scare and asks what's going on. Ignoring the diva, the master calls for a quick break and asks the student to recap what she learned today. Super proper, the girl replies that the secret is using the floating mana in the area so you don't drain your own body. Making the little one think, he asks how she plans to grab that loose magic out of the air. Doing a hype little jump, the kiddo drops a cute, just ask for help. Getting a huge grin out of the professor. Kinda confused, the tall lord asks how on earth anyone talks to invisible energy. Raising his hand, our hero shows it in practice by grabbing a tiny bit of his own red energy. Calmly, he explains you just gotta use your internal magic as a guide to attract the area's mana, like their buddies. In an instant, a colossal amount of energy from the air gathers in his hand, forming an overpowered spell. Canceling the spell, he asks if the little girl wants to try doing the same all by herself. Hyped and full of confidence, the little one stretches out her hand, ready to master the technique. Following the instructions, she gently pulls her own purple energy, forming a tiny puff of smoke at her fingertips. Pulling the aura from the surroundings, the Lord focuses everything on the exact same spot with absolute perfection. Utterly baffled, Her Majesty Citri can't believe a 7-year-old kid has that much natural talent. Looking at the girl's genius, the woman realizes this alliance is the best deal she's ever made. Satisfied, the professor tells his student to pull the mana back into her own body to wrap up the process. Trembling a bit, the little one says the area's energy feels weird at first. Explaining the theory, our MC teaches that the girl has enough magic to cast spells by mixing her own power with the air's. Summoning his power, the guy creates a terrifying giant fire skull right in front of everyone. Shrinking the beast down, he leaves just a tiny skull-shaped flame floating on his finger. Wasting no time, he turns to the shorty and tells her to copy that exact flaming design. Shocked by the insanity, Her Majesty interrupts, asking what kind of crazy stunt the master is teaching. Panicking, she warns that this skull-shaped flame magic is a totally forbidden ancient spell. Confirming the theory, the kid just smiles and focuses his attention back on the little lord. Fully concentrated, the kiddo confirms she's ready to try and replicate the insane move. Squeezing her eyes shut, the little girl tries to picture the flame's shape in her own mind. In the blink of an eye, magic runes start forming around her tiny hand. To everyone's shock, an identical flame shines intensely right on the prodigy student's fingertips. Super happy, the master praises the little girl's instant success, and she smiles with pride. Passing on one last tip, he reminds her that the kiddo needs to practice this control every single day so she doesn't forget. Out of nowhere, Her Majesty Citri tries to throw a sneak punch at his back to cash in on their bet. Catching the woman's wrist without even looking, the guy shuts down her request to learn the forbidden spell. Annoyed by the rejection, she demands to know why the mini-lord gets to learn it, but she doesn't. With a sneaky grin, the boy says he doesn't trust his ally enough, but if they get closer, he might think about it. Catching the double meaning, the demoness's face turns as red as a tomato. Burning with embarrassment, she stammers and accepts the condition because she needs the power no matter what. In a purely professional tone, our MC asks what her type of guy is, just to make bonding easier. Still blushing, she suggests starting by getting to know each other's personal tastes, but soon realizes the master was talking about mutual trust and peace treaties. Dying of anger over the monumental rejection, the woman snaps at him, telling him to be direct next time to avoid the mess. Clueless about the drama, the little girl hugs her bear, not understanding the adult's mess at all. Deep in thought in his own room, the guy tries to connect the dots, remembering that the body's owner was a pro at ancient spells. Diving into the game's lore, he recalls the character Nan was always a mysterious monster with no revealed backstory. Writing on a piece of paper, the master realizes the body acts on autopilot to protect itself from other greater demons, making him even more sketched out about the whole thing. Closing his notebook, the boy concludes he's got way too many bombs to defuse all at once. Weighing his next strategic move, he decides the ultimate priority is expanding the Little Lord's territory. Focused on the 70th floor ruled by a rival, the master plans to use the new ally's military muscle to take over the turf. Come morning, the little girl shows up at the office door, excitedly yelling for her professor. Running with her teddy in hand, the kiddo bulldozes right past the old butler just to reach her hero faster. In a formal meeting, the guy thanks the Fox commander for showing up right on time. Skipping the small talk, the warrior asks what the meeting is about and hears it's regarding a turf invasion. A bit tense, the soldier warns that attacking floor 70 is a suicide mission, even with the partner army's help. Handing over a classified document, the MC guarantees the plan doesn't involve an all-out war, but pure strategy. Reading the paperwork, the woman's eyes go wide, stunned by the audacity of the covered op. With a calculating look, the master asks if the commander thinks the plan is doable. Locked on the objective, she agrees to lead the secret op but wants the crocodile's input to guarantee success. In her view, involving the partner floor's goons might cause a brawl due to a lack of teamwork. Thinking fast, the master suggests creating a special unit with only the best soldiers to dodge any beef. Amazed by the idea, the warrior wonders how they'll get the myth heads to pledge loyalty to the kiddo so fast. Explaining the psychology behind it, the guy says the squad will feel honored to fight directly in the Lord's name. All sweet, he asks the little girl if she agrees with the idea, and she happily nods her head. Out of nowhere, Her Majesty Citri shows up pouting, complaining she's being left out of the invasion plan. Playing the victim, the master claims he only didn't invite her so he wouldn't bother her, since the owner of floor 70 is her ex. Changing the subject, the little one hops off the professor's lap and runs out to the garden. Laughing at the girl's energy, the boy invites the tall lady to come play with the kiddo together. Flashing a genuine smile, he promises that watching a kid in pairs is way less exhausting. Caught completely off guard by the sudden sweetness, the demoness blushes and gets flustered. Minutes later, both of them are crawling around on all fours in the dirt, chasing butterflies like crazy people. Suddenly, the Lord stands up covered in dirt, and her teddy bear falls right into the mud. Panicking, the little girl almost cries, but the MC steps in, calming her down and saying it just needs a wash. Turning to the butler, he asks the old man to handle getting the boss cleaned up. Alone with the hero, the giant lady mentions he's really good at handling kids. In a more serious tone, he replies he only does what's necessary to help the little one mature and become a real leader. Pouting again, the diva calls the guy out on her bored face, complaining about standing around doing nothing fun. Clapping his hands, the master wraps up playtime and brings the topic back to the turf invasion. Curious, Her Majesty asks how he plans to beat the Lord upstairs. Honestly, she reveals she was also gathering an army to attack that jerk. Connecting the dots, the kid remembers that in the game, the war happened way later, but his actions sped everything up. Impatient, the woman wants to know what her role is in the whole scheme. Super cynical, the guy says since she wants to help so bad, she's going in as bait for the plan. Laughing at the sheer disrespect, the demoness finds his audacity hilarious for putting a leader on the front lines. To win the fancy lady over, he pulls a mysterious flyer out of his pocket. Reading the paper, she cracks up seeing that her ex-boyfriend insulted a dangerous gang from his own territory. Plotting the chaos, the master announces he's going to recruit those thugs into their own army, using the beef to their advantage. Loving the genius idea, Her Majesty asks who's going to negotiate the deal and immediately looks at the Fox commander. Regarding the ops budget, she asks how they're dividing the profits from this mess. Full of smooth talk, our hero suggests a 50-50 split to keep the friendship strong. Suspicious, the big crocodile thinks the master is ripping his boss off. Before the drama escalates, a high-pitched scream rips through the sky, and the duo turns to see what happened. Ignoring the commotion, the master goes back to drilling brutal magic spells against the tall lady. Fresh out of the bath, the kiddo skips back with her teddy bear looking brand new. Total softie, the professor picks the girl up, squeezing her cheeks. Looking closer, he notices a few streaks of the girl's hair turn dark blue out of nowhere. The old butler spawns from out of nowhere, explaining that demons from that bloodline can store external magic in their hair. On the inside, the MC is shocked because this energy storing ability never showed up in the game's lore. Worried, the old man says that when she burns the mana, her hair goes back to normal, and that her dad's whole head was red from holding so much energy. Analyzing the little one, the boy realizes that if she trains harder, she'll become a literal infinite tank. Affectionately, He lets his student know that from now on, they'll focus heavily on absorbing magic from the surroundings. Switching to work mode, the master asks the butler where the fox warrior vanished to. In the dead of night, the scene cuts to the rooftops of floor 70 under a tense moonlight. Silent as a shadow, the commander leads a squad of ninja spies, leaping across the rooftops. Impressed by the hero's strategy, the woman thinks about how the boss threw together the perfect plan in record time. Sliding down a rope, the team lands stealthily near the target hideout. Hidden in the high branches, the fox signals the position of the enemy guards, marking the time to strike. Keeping an eye on the shady cabin, one of the ninjas reports the area looks clear. Whispering in the dark, the soldier asks what the real point is of raiding this shack in the middle of nowhere. Locked on the mission, the commander drops the truth, saying they're there to hire the strongest mercenary guild in the region. Wasting no time, the fox orders the group to advance, locking down the perimeter in silence. Approaching the wooden cabin's door, the tension spikes to maximum alert. Before they breach, the flash of a blade cuts the wind, catching the ninja team by surprise. Startled, the squad draws their weapons, bracing for a heavy ambush right on the doorstep. Staring down the enemy squad, 3 ripped meatheads demand the intruders identify themselves. Keeping her cool, the commander introduces herself as the official envoy of Lord Seer. Puffing his pipe, the mercenary leader steps out of the shadows, asking who's running the invasion crew. Taking a step forward, the fox takes charge and flexes her authority. Analyzing the warrior up close, the big guy recognizes her as one of the 4 swords of the late lord. With a firm gaze, she lets him know that title is in the past, and now she's the lethal weapon of the little lord. Mocking the situation, the mercenary asks if the useless little girl actually plans to invade floor 70. Confident, the fox says it's just a matter of time, and that the mercenaries need to prove their worth to get in on the action. Keeping it entirely real, the commander states that by fighting alongside Her Majesty Citri, the enemy lord's downfall is guaranteed. Flashing a sideways smirk, the mercenary leader says theory is easy, but real war is a whole different ballgame. Casually smoking, he throws it in her face that he knows the ridiculous disadvantage between the armies, even with the alliance. Out of nowhere, a terrifying blast of black energy spooks the big guy, proving the mysterious professor's brutal strength. Shaking in his boots, the bandit boss remembers the ancient legends about the celestial ranked demons. Trying to hide his panic, the meathead forces a laugh, calling the magic display a weak joke. Cold and calculating, the fox warns they can't make too much noise, so they don't draw the upper floor's attention. With a deadly glare, she threatens the bandit, saying if they don't take the deal, they're going down with the rest. Gulping hard, the mercenary boss wonders if it's an empty threat or if these guys are actually dangerous. Defeated, he takes the deal, demanding the invading army gets free passage through the territory. Seeing his submission, the warrior confirms the plan and promises her leader will destroy everything in her path. Cut to the commander reporting the risky mission's success, directly to our MC in the office. Satisfied, the boy praises his allies' skills and announces the war will kick off sooner than expected. However, he notices the fox lingering at the door, like she wants to ask something important. Swallowing her pride, the soldier questions why a monster like him chose to teach such a useless lord. Sliding a paper across the desk, the hero jokes that everyone thinks he's wasting his time there. Standing up, he states people judge by the rankings, thinking the little girl is trash with no future. Understanding her suspicion, he knows the warrior thinks he wants to steal the throne for himself. Laughing on the inside, he admits he can't spill the truth that he came from the real world, just to enjoy the game. With a sinister grin on his face, the guy drops the perfect excuse, saying he chose the girl purely for fun. Totally in shock, the commander doesn't buy that crazy answer and asks for a better explanation. Exuding a dark, imposing aura, he swears he wants to turn the weakest one into the absolute ruler of the entire kingdom. Trying to process the info, the fox gets freaked out by the master's ambition, thinking he's just a crazy sadist. Breaking the tension, he laughs casually and drops a compliment, calling the demon lord the cutest thing in the world. Praising the team as well, the guy mentions the butler who's a total strategist and loyal to the bone. In a combo of compliments, he drops the sweet maid and even the castle's absolute beast of a cook. Going down the list, he admits the blue vice commander is a bit rebellious but has a massive heart, and wrapping up to boost the fox's ego, he calls her the strongest, most loyal, and straight-up beautiful warrior. Catching the woman off guard, the unexpected praise leaves the commander totally blushing and speechless. Laughing at her shyness, the master says he's just stating facts with no BS. Reassuring the soldier, he confesses floor 72 has the best vibe for him to chill. Keeping it 100% real, The kid guarantees he'll never betray the crew's trust unless they cross him first. But he quickly corrects himself, reminding her their loyalty must always be to the little lord and no one else. Ending the meeting, he dismisses the commander, who smiles, thankful for the kind words. Walking away, the woman realizes the little queen hit the jackpot, landing such an incredible teacher. Ruining the sweet mood, the kiddo runs into the room, happily calling for her professor. Handing over a stack of papers, the girl says she came to help with the boring castle finances. Looking at the document, the little one realizes the humans stole the floor's food, causing a major crisis. Wanting to fix the mess, the shorty suggests giving the castle's food stash away for free to the farmers. Cutting off the innocents, the guy asks how they're gonna buy more food later if they run out of cash now. Grabbing a pen, the kiddo writes down the magic fix called the grain loan system. Pointing to the board, the master draws out how loaning food works, charging a tiny interest fee on the next harvest. Smart and cute, the student celebrates that this way nobody starves, and the castle still makes a little profit. Right then, the horned maid knocks on the door, interrupting economics class. Announcing it's snack time, the servant brings pudding, making the lord's eyes shine with joy. Face deep in her pudding, the little girl announces today's snack is strawberry cake. Suddenly, the little one stops eating halfway and stares right at the professor. Flashing a massive smile, she invites the hero to eat the cake with her. Shocked by the move, the maid lets slip that Her Majesty never shares her food with anybody. Laughing at the broken protocol, the MC agrees to try a piece of the special treat. Skipping down the hall, the guy reflects on how fast he won the little lord's blind trust. Taking advantage of the moment, he walks away satisfied, thinking the plan is going wonderfully. Soon, he runs into the old butler, who hands over a freshly arrived sealed letter from floor 71. Reading the words, the boy sees the message is from the diva, confirming the trap is set. With eyes gleaming with malice, the master smiles, announcing today's snack is way sweeter than he expected. Far away on floor 70, the horned lord slams the table, foaming with rage over the declaration of war. Cursing his old flame, he yells that Her Majesty Citri has completely lost her mind. Surrounded by goons, the villain warns she might have lost power, but she's still a super dangerous witch. Suspicious of a hidden trap, the lord demands his advisors cook up a defense plan. Sitting in a chair, a preppy suit wearing guy mentions rumors that the boss's ex teamed up with the floor below. Spilling more tea, the advisor reveals spies saw the woman heading straight down to floor 72. Laughing at his advisor's face, the lord thinks it's a joke she'd ask a bunch of weaklings from the bottom floor for help. Keeping a straight face, the preppy guy brings up the wild rumor about the little girl's sinister new teacher. Doubting everything, the villain asks why a monstrous warrior would waste time teaching a kid. Clenching his fists, the boss fears this mysterious mentor is the brains behind the sudden war. Suggesting a preemptive strike, the blonde advisor wants to wipe out the enemies before they attack. Whispering in the boss's ear, the suit passes along a secret plan involving the mercenary guild. With an evil smile, the big lord approves the goon's dirty idea to crush his ex-girlfriend. Scanning the room, the villain notices the mercenary boss is missing from the defense meeting. Boiling with hate, he orders the guards to drag the traitor to the throne room immediately. Before anyone can obey, a panicked messenger bursts in, collapsing on the hall floor. Startled by the scream, the lord stands up, ordering the lackey to report the issue right now. Sweating cold, the guard announces Her Majesty Citri's entire army just set up camp right at the castle gates. Shocked by how fast the attack came, the horned guy can't believe what he just heard. Slamming his hands on the table, he connects the dots and realizes the traitor mercenaries opened the gates for the rivals. Urgently, the advisor tells the horned lord to order the attack before it's too late. Yelling commands, the guards mobilize, cursing the mercenaries' betrayal. With a beastly roar, the villain orders all troops to advance and crush the enemies. Far from the chaos, our MC fixes the little girl's armor, asking her to stay strong in the heavy vibe. Joking around with the girl's nerves, he promises a slice of cake as a victory prize. Looking at the old butler, the master announces the main operation just kicked off. Giving his battle blessing, the old man wishes good luck to the duo heading for the magic portal. At the camp, the Blue Vice commander says everything is set for the final teleport. Explaining the plan, he says Her Majesty Citri opened a direct path into the heart of enemy territory. Impressed by the boldness, the blue warrior mutters that the professor bet all his chips at once. Stepping through the black hole, the kid carries the demon lord on his back, ready for a brawl. On the other side, the enemy lord looks out the window, shocked that the neighboring castle is completely empty. Commanding his squad of assassins, the villain decides to punish their audacity by eliminating the remaining civilians. Crawling across the partner castle's roofs, the evil ninjas prep their cowardly strike. Following their master's order, the assassins dive into the darkness to wipe everyone out. Worried about defense, the vice commander asks if leaving the castle unprotected was a good call. Relaying the rumors, the soldier fears a surprise attack from Floor 70's elite unit. Flashing a wicked smile, the master guarantees that trying to sneak into his castle is pure suicide. Suddenly, inside the empty castle, assassins start plummeting from the windows, totally wrecked. Dropping to the floor like flies, the elite ninjas have no clue where the beatdown came from. Shocked, one of the invaders asks what kind of monster was left behind to defend the place. Walking calmly through the smoke, the old butler appears, stepping on a downed assassin's head. With class, the old man asks what the uninvited guests are doing there trying to clean house. Recalling his chat with the vice commander, our hero says he hid a lethal secret in the castle. Showing off the wild mess, the evil ninjas go flying, destroyed by the veteran's brute force. Wiping down her broom, the fox maid and the cook confirm the kitchen area is clear of intruders. Making small talk with the staff, the butler celebrates that the real fun has started. Holding the knocked-out bandits like sacks of potatoes, the cleaning crew shows they aren't playing around. Absolutely terrified, the last assassin tries to run, but realizes the staff is the ultimate cleanup crew. Narrating the facts, the master knew the little lord's old employees were straight-up hidden killing machines. On the battlefield, the blue soldier admits he doubted the professor at first, but seeing the guy's genius in building a flawless strategy, he pledges loyalty as a commander. Wearing full armor and holding her teddy bear, the kiddo pokes the warrior's leg. Correcting her subordinate, she throws it in his face that she's the real boss there and tells him to obey. Smiling, the hero asks the soldier to temporarily act as troop leader under the little queen's orders. Respectfully accepting the command, the vice commander salutes, ready to lead the charge. Beaming inside her helmet, the shorty celebrates that the official war started with a bang. With the portal open, the allied armies march straight at the enemy castle, causing absolute terror. From the top of a watchtower, the mercenaries watch the carnage, praising the MC's diabolical strategy. Far from danger, Her Majesty Citri warns her goon not to underestimate the mysterious professor under any circumstances. Taking responsibility, she says they just need to play their part in the plan and collect the reward. Back on floor 70, the throne room door explodes from the violent impact of the attack. Foaming with rage, the Horned Lord can't believe the invasion arrived so fast. Scorched, the advisor begs them to retreat, but the villain, blinded by fury, refuses. Dragging his lackey by the neck, the big guy crushes the poor dude, proving he'll fight to the bitter end. Staring down the invaders with a psycho smile, the enemy lord thanks them for the visit. Leading the charge, the Fox commander busts the doors wide open, surrounded by elite soldiers. Surprised, the villain's guards try to fight back, but get swallowed up by the partner army's fury. Spinning her sword like a pro, the warrior mocks Floor 70's warm welcome. Drooling with hate, the boss of the traitor bandits swears he'll rip the invaders apart with his bare hands. Ignoring the threat, the Fox charges in, telling him he can try again in his next life. In the blink of an eye, blades clash brutally, creating a flash of energy in the hall. Deflecting the massive mercenaries' strikes, the commander uses her speed to dodge the giant sledgehammer. Enraged, the traitor calls the woman arrogant, trying to smash her into the marble floor. Jumping into the brawl, the Horned Lord announces he'll personally test the invading commander's famous skills. Calling him out for combat, the Fox plants her feet and blocks a colossal attack from the villain. Feeling the hit's weight, the warrior gets pushed back by the demon's brute force. Laughing at her resistance, the Meathead mocks her by bringing up the little girl's dead dad. Before the Fox can strike back, the Lord takes down his own minion in a crazy surprise move. Shocked by the betrayal, blood splatters on the commander's face, and she freezes at the brutality. Licking his messy lips, the villain laughs, saying the game just got interesting. Suddenly, giant energy snakes burst from his body, ready to strike. With a sharp command, the beasts open their jaws, aiming straight at the paralyzed warrior. On the partner castle's balcony, Her Majesty Citri finds the professor admiring the destroyed landscape. Without stalling, she says she did everything he asked, but wants to know if he actually trusts the Fox commander's strength. Dropping the little demon lord into the tall woman's lap, the MC cuts the conversation short. Passing the buck, he asks her to hold the kiddo for a sec while he handles a mess. Desperate, the little girl struggles, begging to tag along to the battlefield. With a serious look, the hero freezes, sensing a bizarre magical aura in the air. Staring at his own hand glowing with energy, he mutters that something crazy shouldn't be there. Noticing the vibe shift, Her Majesty Citri asks what happened that's so serious. Flying at lightning speed, our boy takes off toward the enemy castle, leaving a trail of dust. Stomping her foot, The tall lady complains she lost sight of him in a second, showing off the master's insane speed. Seizing the alone time, the woman's goon suggests betraying the alliance by kidnapping the little girl right there. Immediately scolding the guy, the demoness tells him to forget that idiocy, swearing the professor only left the girl there to test their loyalty. Trying not to die of fear, Her Majesty hugs the little girl, keeping her safe from danger. Clinging to the woman's armor, the girl lets out a cute squeal and praises her bravery. On the front lines, the fox warrior doesn't lose focus and slices through the enemy guards like butter. Seeing his teammate in trouble, the vice commander blocks a sneaky attack from behind. Shoving the evil soldier to the ground, the blue guy warns everyone not to sleep on teamwork. With a giant boom, the hall wall crumbles from the violent battle's impact. Mocking the fallen, the Horned Lord says the mess goes really well with useless mercenaries. Summoning his ultimate power, he merges the giant snakes, forming a colossal hydra of corrupted energy. Surrounded by the beastly monster, the commander sweats cold, realizing this magic isn't from a mid-tier demon. Squeezing her eyes shut, the fox accepts defeat and mentally begs the little lord for forgiveness for failing. Suddenly, a sinister darkness floods the room, ripping the hydra's magic right down the middle. With a heavy thud, the enemy lord is thrown against the wall, coughing up a storm, terrified of the shadow. Stepping out of the darkness with his hands in his pockets, the master teacher glares at the villain with total disgust. Panting, the Meathead asks who the crazy guy is and what kind of absurd magic he just used. Feeling the crushing pressure, the horned guy connects the dots, remembering the celestial lords of the past. Breathing heavy, the villain recognizes the guy's raw strength and compliments his power. Spinning a spear of pure energy in his hand, the MC doesn't give a damn about empty praises. Desperate, the big guy tries to buy the hero off, offering cash, power, and fame if he switches sides. Yelling that he'd give anything the professor asked for, he begged for his own life. Closing his eye, the master activates his magic vision and answers that the only thing he wants is the top. Gunning the enemy down with his eyes, the kid declares that trash like him would never get there. Showing no mercy, the hero preps the final attack, guaranteeing he doesn't forgive anyone who threatens his student. With a relieved smile, the enemy lord mutters that he lost to an out of this world power. With a clean, silent slice, the energy spear goes through the demon's body, sending him packing for good. Tapping his weapon on the floor, the master announces to everyone that the war is finally over. Seeing their leader down, the enemy soldiers go into total panic mode and throw their weapons on the ground. Announcing the surrender, the blue vice commander warns that anyone who keeps fighting will turn into mincemeat. Outside the fortress, the commander and Her Majesty meet up, a bit lost by the lightning-fast victory. Crying tears of joy, the little girl recognizes her professor's voice by the echo and jumps for joy. On her knees, the fox warrior apologizes for hesitating during the final clash. Helping the soldier up, he blames the mysterious dark aura, saying the commander fought well. Deep in thought, he finds the villain's power super weird because, in the game's lore, the horned guy never had that crazy magic. Keeping it a secret, the master tells the fox to spread the word that the victory officially belongs to Her Majesty Citri. Passing the baton, he says the commanders need to organize the troops and prisoners at the castle. Remembering his priority, the MC decides to head back and check how the kiddo is doing with their ally. Suspicious, the soldier fears leaving the little lord alone with the ambitious woman, but trusts the master's plan. Cutting through the sky once again, he tears through the air at light speed, heading back to the balcony. Looking at the wrecked field, the demoness's goon can't believe the allied army's strength. Sitting in her chair, the diva complains the war was way too easy, totally ruining the fun of winning. In the blink of an eye, the little girl screams, pointing at the sky, announcing the hero's arrival. Landing with style, he praises the little one's behavior, giving his student a hug. Jaw dropped, the Horned Majesty asks how on earth he beat the lord by himself so fast. Tossing the defeated villain's token into her lap, the kid scares the woman with the creepy gift. Shaking with disgust, she doesn't get why he wants to give her the credit for the takedown. With a manipulative smile, the guy lets her know this is just the start of a very profitable partnership. Turning his back, he dismisses the allies, reminding them to split the war loot exactly 50-50. At the Demon Lord's castle, the old butler pushes the main door that the ninjas busted open. Sighing, he notices the damage and complains about the expensive repairs they'll have to do. Noticing the mess, the professor walks in, praising the veteran's cleanup job. Laughing at his own bad luck, the old man admits he went a little too hard when beating up the invaders. Thanking him for the effort, the hero congratulates the team for officially taking over Floor 70. Wagging the future, the kid states that this is just a stepping stone for total underworld domination. Choking on the strategy, the butler asks why the master donated the neighboring castle to Her Majesty Citri. Confused, the old man wonders if the student isn't taking a loss by handing over the conquered turf. Untangling the mess, the MC explains that the Allah's leadership is only on paper to fool the gossips. Dropping some basic economics, he guarantees their castle doesn't have the cash to run 2 floors at once. So, by letting the rich lady handle management, the little girl's kingdom grows without spending a dime. From afar, Her Majesty feels a chill while looking at her ex's token on the table, realizing she got played. With a cheeky smile, the kid confirms he plotted every step of the plan, letting the alley foot the bill for free. Amazed by the master's sharpness, the old man bites his tongue, promising to focus 100% on the little one's education now. Walking down the halls, the master lists urgent fixes like old gear and the broken financial system. Walking up the stairs, he remembers they still need to find out who gave the enemy lord that forbidden dark magic. Changing the subject, the veteran asks how the hero knew the mercenaries would betray their old boss so easily. Laughing nervously, the boy plays it cool, saying it was pure luck and intuition. Sighing in relief, the old man admits the hero has a massive lucky star and blesses his presence. Leaving the repairs to the butler, the MC decides to focus on his students' theory classes. Explaining to her that the war is over, he warns that now comes the worst part, which is learning to actually rule. Pinching the girl's chubby cheeks, he reminds her that she's the supreme ruler. Laying on the professor's lap, the kiddo confesses she loves his classes, and her teddy bear approves too. Melting from the cuteness, he thanks her for the affection and says he chose the best path by helping the little one. Swinging her little legs, the girl refuses to let go of the hero, demanding he rests too. Quoting the sweet maid, the Lord repeats that working too much is bad for your health. Throwing a tantrum, she orders the master to lie down and sleep with her right now. Smiling at her whining, he accepts the invite, knowing if he says no, there'll be tears. Planning to catch some Z's, the MC agrees to take a nap, hugging the absolute cutest student ever. Carrying his student, the guy arrives at her room exhausted from the trip. Carefully, he lays the girl down and asks the maid if the little one got hurt. Relieved, the green-haired servant guarantees the Lord is in one piece and offers the hero some tea to relax. Smiling brightly, the employee leaves the room, amazed at how much the professor genuinely cares. Half asleep, the kiddo hugs the master's arm, wanting some company. Wrapping her in a blanket, he jokes she's sleeping with a giant polar bear tonight. Clingy, the little girl squeezes her plushie, refusing to leave the big bear's bed. Analyzing the affection, the MC wonders if the girl stuck to him because she lacks a father figure or emotional safety. Sitting on the edge of the bed, the master decides to stay until she completely falls asleep. Cut to the next day with the sun shining and the news of the Horned Lord's defeat flying across the floors. In shock, the preppy guy from floor 69 can't believe Her Majesty Citri beat the brute. Putting the pieces together, the advisor figures out she only won because the little lord's floor helped with the attack. Understanding the danger, the preppy realizes he's the next target in the line of fire for turf expansion. Shaking in his boots, the guy suggests sending a letter to floor 68 to propose an alliance against Citri. Agreeing, the leader of floor 69 states that sitting around waiting for an attack is a suicide mission. Confirming the letter's delivery, the Lord is positive his neighbor will agree to a defensive team up. At the castle on floor 72, the maid knocks on the hero's bedroom door with breakfast. Opening the door, she gets startled seeing the adorable scene on the bed. Dead tired, the professor and the little girl are fast asleep, hugging and snoring softly. With a motherly smile, the employee leaves the tray and wishes them sweet dreams. Later that night, the master wakes up with Her Majesty Citri complaining that splitting the assets took a century. Sighing from exhaustion, the guy thanks her for the hustle and swears he split the profit 50-50 without any shady business. Reading the report, the tall woman confirms the split is fair and approves her partner's work. Pressing the master, she tells him not to forget her training and demands he visit her every week. Mocking him, the demoness tells him to stop acting like an overprotective dad, because the little girl can handle the pressure. Alone in the room, the hero goes back to the paperwork, focused on cleaning up the post-war mess as fast as possible. The next morning, the fox maid nervously knocks on the door, grabbing the MC's attention. Panting, the commander says she had to cancel the Lord's classes today. Freaked out, the kid jumps up, asking if the little queen is sick. Sweating cold, he blames himself, thinking he pushed too hard taking the kiddo to the battlefield and strained her health. Trying to calm the professor down, the fox says it's just a regular childhood cold. Sitting back down, he takes a deep breath, admitting he overdid it and forgot she's only 7 years old. Keeping it real, The master thanks the warrior and announces he's taking a few days off to take care of his student. Face-palming, he calls himself an idiot for treating real life like it's just a game. Determined, he swears he's gonna fly through the paperwork so he can keep an eye on the girl's fever. Walking into the dark room, he arrives loaded with gifts, asking how the sick little one is feeling. With her eyes sparkling, the kiddo smiles, forgetting her headache, and thanks him for the teddy bears. Like a magician, the hero pulls another pile of plushies from behind his back, covering the bed. Suffocating under the bare mountain, the Lord tells him that's total overkill. Laughing at his own cluelessness, the boy apologizes while picking up the extra toys. Seeing the little one yawn in the middle of the plushies, he tells her to go back to sleep to beat the cold. Pulling the blanket up, the master checks her temp. Relieved that her high fever has already dropped a lot. Sleepy, the girl apologizes for being a burden and ruining the class schedule. Petting her blue hair, he tells her not to worry because health always comes first. Needy, the little girl asks to get back to training soon, but he says no and tells her to focus on resting her mind. Trying to cheer the kiddo up, he plays dirty, saying if she doesn't get better soon, she won't get any pudding for dessert. Watching her sleep, the master flashes a slight smile, wishing his boss sweet dreams. At lunchtime, the old butler interrupts the guy's meal, bringing the war loot report. Scanning the list, the MC confirms he's hunting for a very specific, super important item that should be in Floor 70's treasure pile. Remembering the game's lore, he focuses on magical gear that wildly boosts characters' growth rates early in the journey. Firmly checking the paper, the hero knows he found the rare prize he needed to break the system's rules. Laughing to himself, he reflects that finding that item in the game was only possible by unlocking the 40th ending, which was pure insanity. Handing the list back to the old man, he orders them to guard the relic with max security. Shocked by the mark on the page, the old butler asks if the professor is sure he wants that piece of garbage. Confirming the request, the master says if Her Majesty's Sea-Tree approves, they're grabbing that thing right away. Through the old man's eyes, the list shows a useless broken sword missing the power jewel in its hilt. Back in the throne room, the little lord is amazed by the looted precious stones scattered on the floor. Playing with the shiny gems, she admires the colors while the hero watches her reaction. Satisfied, the MC celebrates that splitting the cash and items worked out and the plan succeeded. Shocked, the fox confesses it's a miracle they got half of everything and confirms the treasure carts are already on the way. Super hyped about the mountain of gold, the kiddo congratulates the team, thinking being rich is the best thing ever. In the treasure room, the guards hand the rusty sword over to the professor. Thanking them for the work, the hero dismisses the soldiers, who leave confused by his choice of item. Holding the old weapon, the master knows that once fixed, this blade multiplies the user's strength by 5, making anyone overpowered. Curious, the demon lord stares at the rusty piece of metal, asking what that garbage is for. Flashing a huge smile, the MC announces the weapon is a gift for her, and he knows exactly where the missing jewel is to fix the thing. Satisfied, he orders the crew to keep logging the treasure and sorting weapons for the soldiers. Hypnotized by another stone's glow, the girl tugs on the master's coat him in awe. Ignoring the basic rock, he focuses on wrapping up the inspection fast so they can put the sword to use. Seeing the heavy chests, the kiddo gets scared, but the hero promises the guards can handle the weight. Noticing his student can't stop staring at the green crystal, he realizes she genuinely liked the gems. Straight to the point, the professor asks if the ruler wants to grab any of the stones for herself. Embarrassed, the shorty says no, claiming everything there belongs to the castle. But the kid insists she take a freebie. Grabbing an ugly crown loaded with old jewels, the MC hands it over to her. Radically changing the scenery, the scene cuts to the two of them standing in front of a spooky abandoned mine entrance on floor 70. Walking along the abandoned cave tracks, the professor guides his student with a lantern. Confident, he tells her he knows exactly where the parts are hidden. Digging through some rocks on the ground, the hero quickly finds what he was looking for. Grabbing the shiny gem, he lets out a satisfied smile over the easy find. Blowing the dust off the crystal, the little girl asks if that's really part of the ugly sword. Pocketing the item, the guy promises they still need to find the main piece. With a magic-charged punch, the master smashes a stone wall, revealing a secret passage. Blasting the rubble, the duo enters a gigantic hidden room that wasn't on the map. Right away, they come face to face with a giant gate guarded by a monstrous gargoyle statue. Picking the kiddo up, he says the stone beast is just a dumb roadblock in their way. Out of nowhere, the statue's eyes glow a ghostly yellow, calling the two of them intruders. Moving with a creepy creak, the gargoyle blocks the path, refusing entry. Fascinated, the little lord points at the monster, thinking a talking statue is the coolest thing ever. Totally offended, the magic creature tries to insult the little girl but gets cut off quick. Annoyed, the master tells the monster to shut its mouth and not ruin his student's practical lesson. With an absurdly loud crash, the gargoyle gets crushed into the floor by a brutal invisible force. Trembling in panic, the statue pledges loyalty on the spot, calling the MC master. Stepping right over the terrified monster, the hero tells the beast to wait there, and he'll come back for it later. Entering the secret hall, the duo finds a single lit pedestal in the middle of the dark room. Reaching out, he snaps the newly found jewel right into the middle of the rusty sword's blade. In that exact second, the weapon reacts, glowing intensely right in front of the girl. Slowly, the rust fades, and the sword returns to its powerful original form, exuding magic. Satisfied, the MC asks what his student thinks of the floating weapon's new look. Handing the glowing sword to the little one, he tells her that's her official present. Holding the sick blade, the kiddo emotionally thanks the professor for the surprise. Checking the stats, the master sees the sword boosts the user's growth rate by 500%, proving the item is way too broken. Back in the castle courtyard, the old man is amazed by the new weapon, and the MC announces it's time for sword training. Startled, the old butler looks back and sees the giant gargoyle dragging its chains across the floor. Losing patience, the professor says the new beast is going to help guard their turf. Smiling wickedly, the kid adds that the statue has a special talent for dealing with nosy humans. Seeing the utility, the butler approves of putting the gargoyle to work defending the gates. Giving the stone monster a lecture, the master warns that if it's useless, it's getting turned into gravel. Cutting the chat, the hero pulls the old man into his office, wanting the tea on the neighboring floors. Walking to the hall, the old guy reports that the lords from floors 68 and 69 are having little chats. Sweeting cold, the veteran warns that if these horned guys' alliance works out, it's gonna be a hell of a problem. Deep in thought, the MC agrees they don't have the cash to fund a direct war right now, but they can't let the enemies team up either. Sitting at his desk, the kid asks if the old man has an ace up his sleeve to avoid this mess. Sighing, the old man says the neighboring floor is famous for being a giant commercial hub fueled by trust. Catching the drift, the hero asks what happens if that merchant trust goes down the drain. Slamming his book shut, the veteran concludes their economy crashes, but destroying centuries of trust in the blink of an eye is impossible. With a wicked grin, the kid shoots back, saying the old man was the one who talked about fixing everything in the blink of an eye, not him. Walking over to the window, the master reveals that the plan to destroy the enemy's commercial base will take at least 5 years. Explaining the dirty trick, he says he's going to use an economic tactic he tested himself while playing the game back in the day. Surprised, the butler asks if Her Majesty Citri is going to fund the risks of this insane market play. Super chill, the professor guarantees the offer he's going to make the diva is totally irresistible and super tempting. Curious, the old man asks what this magical merch is that'll bankrupt the enemy, and if the MC already has it. Laughing, the kid confirms he's going to sell a product no other demon has the guts to trade. Switching focus, the scene cuts to a human city packed with adventurers gossiping in the square. In the middle of the street, the crowd talks about how the rumors of the demon kingdom being unguarded are totally true. In a packed bar, a white-haired rookie suggests his friend hunt some weak monsters to make quick cash. The pink-haired girl agrees, remembering there's a bunch of easy-to-beat demon sheep in that area. Clinking their mugs, the duo celebrates the chance to strike it rich fast in enemy territory. Arriving at the portal to the demon world, they notice it's swarming with hunters who had the same greedy idea. Out of nowhere, a giant meathead taps the white-haired kid on the shoulder, grabbing his attention. Joined by a cleric, the ripped warrior asks if the duo wants to party up and hunt together. Reading the big guy's aura, the rookie realizes the dude is a high-level veteran hunter. Accepting the offer on the spot, the kid grabs his friend, and they follow the warrior to the portal. At the portal's edge, other adventurers are arguing, because some are scared to enter while others want to chase the golden opportunity. Once on the other side of the rift, the group marches through floor 70's forest, led by the meathead. Suspicious, the blonde mutters that the floor feels more like a giant plane than a floor, right before they all get startled. Hiding behind some rocks, the group watches a flock of demon sheep just chilling and grazing. Focused on the money, the giant warrior readies his axe to start the slaughter. However, the meathead proposes a deal, saying he'll keep only the horns and the duo can take the meat and bones. Curious, the white-haired kid finds it weird because the horns are the only valuable part of the beasts. With a sinister smile, the cleric sparks up a brutal magic, scaring the rookies into realizing the veteran duo is bad news. Realizing they're screwed, the pink-haired girl sees they joined a squad of cowardly hunters. Ignoring the tense vibe, the meathead announces he's doing the dirty work alone, and they're just carrying the loot. Before the guy can take a single step, the ground violently shakes, knocking everyone on their butts. Desperate, the blonde asks what the heck kind of earthquake is happening in the middle of a pasture. Looking ahead, the big guy sees the sheep running in panic from something absolutely massive. In one hit, a gigantic shadow crushes the ground, blasting a crater right in the middle of the adventurers. In shock, the veteran warrior screams that the monster that spawned is an ancient gargoyle. Running for their lives, the rookie duo yells at the meathead to run too, but the guy is frozen in fear. Paralyzed by terror, the pink-haired girl freezes mid-escape, shaking uncontrollably. Looking up, the girl can't figure out why the gargoyle summoned darkness to trap them all in the cursed forest. Up above, the fox commander floats in the air, giving the order to capture all the adventurers alive. Aiming at the intruders, she repeats she doesn't want a single scratch on them to avoid ruining the merchandise. Surrounded by the Little Lord's army, the humans drop their weapons and surrender for good. Locked in a giant cage, the white-haired kid can't understand why the demons didn't just take them out right there. Whispering in the dark, he wonders what the real goal is of keeping the prisoners breathing. In his office, the professor listens to the report that they bagged over 270 adventurers in a single month. Complaining, the fox warns that their floor turned into a famous hunting ground for humans, calling it super dangerous. Keeping his cool, the hero says that was the plan from day one, remembering that in the original game, pitying humans only led to a game over. Grasping the plan, the commander confesses the floor's residents are terrified of this mass invasion. Petting his student's head, the MC agrees that scaring their own people brings zero benefits. Changing course, he decides it's time to stop playing defense and start a heavy counterattack. Asking the warrior if she knows any mind control experts, he sets up the next phase of the plan. With a wicked smile, he claims he's going to make the humans beg to never set foot in their territory again. Cut to the Adventurer Guild in the human city, with folks complaining about the lack of profitable quests. Totally depressed, a hunter complains that regular quests pay absolute garbage that barely buys a loaf of bread. Screaming for help, an adventurer busts the guild doors open, crying their eyes out. Crawling on the floor, the guy says the demons aren't eliminating anyone, but just putting the hunters to work alive. Desperate, the pink-haired girl walks in with him, begging the guild boss to send a rescue team for her friends. Getting up from his desk, the guild leader calms the girl down, asking her to breathe and tell the story straight. Lying straight to his face, the white-haired kid says he has no idea how he escaped the demon prison. Suspicious, the leader asks if it isn't a little too convenient for a low-level hunter to escape hell all by himself. Pressuring the kid, the boss says he felt the guy's heartbeat ticking at a weird rhythm, like a robot. Catching on to the drama, the guild master realizes the adventurer didn't escape, but was let go on purpose to be a living messenger. Sniffing the air, he confirms he smells the mind control magic deeply embedded in the pink-haired girl's soul too. Laughing at her own misery, the girl agrees that everything is wrecked and drops her act, revealing she's the professor manipulating her body. Quick as lightning, the possessed girl pulls her dagger and lunges right at the guild leader. With a precise strike, the human boss deflects the blade, slashing the evil mana and freeing the rookie's mind. Collapsing unconscious on the floor, the girl is caught by the veteran, who breathes a sigh of relief for not hurting her. Bellowing orders, the leader announces the portal to the floors is closed and declares a maximum emergency state. Confused, a hunter asks what went down, and the boss declares the official war against the demons has started, and humans won't back down. Sighing, the guild leader asks them to warn all regional guilds about the massive mess. Screaming with axes in hand, the hunters from the northern guilds swear they're gonna chop off every demon's head. Hyped for revenge, the humans march straight to the interdimensional portal, ready for a wild takedown. Full of morale, the human king's elite knights charge into the war, yelling for God to bless the takedown. Flashing back, the demon master sits in his chair feeling smug, knowing his trap to lure the human army worked beautifully. Reading the files, he ordered the gossiping adventurers to be sent straight to the Southern Guild, where the powerhouse leader is. Remembering the game, he notes that this specific human master was the most broken boss in the whole scenario. Glued to his screen, the hero admits he set up this whole circus just to make sure that overpowered hunters showed up late to the main war. Back to the present, the massive human army marches across the plain, ready to obliterate the demon defenses. From the top of a hill, the Blue Vice commander and the fox watch the enemy anthill, thinking the MC's plan is absurdly genius. Drawing her sword, the fox orders the demon troops not to eliminate anyone and to capture as many humans alive as possible. Suddenly, the sky over the plain goes pitch black, like it's nighttime. With a violent crash, the master's colossal gargoyle lands right in front of the human army, shattering the ground and roaring. Following the professor's orders, the statue spreads terror, crushing the front lines without mercy. Capitalizing on the shock, the commander orders them to shoot capture nets into the gaps of the defensive formation. Aiming the cannons, the demons fire sticky net bombs onto the humans, swallowing entire battalions. Screaming in the chaos, the hunters try to cut the threads, but the giant spider web won't give. Pulling the nets, the lesser demons tie the prisoners up like little gift packages. Tearing through the web with a blessed sword, the human paladin leader slices through the mess, clearing a path. Boiling with hate, the holy knight vows to slice up every gross monster in his sight. Chopping heads, the old paladin proves his top rank isn't just for show, inspiring the troops to fight back. Seeing the damage, the fox warns the blue guy that the gargoyle alone won't be enough to hold the front line. Confident, the vice commander steps up and orders the soldiers to prep the ground for something way worse. From out of nowhere, the giant warriors of the Asura tribe touch down, crushing the humans before they even think about retreating. Shocked, the old paladin asks where the heck this extinct race of warrior demons came from. With his purple spear glowing, the giant leader takes down 3 knights in a single strike, spreading terror. Wiping blood off his face, the big guy laughs at the humans' weakness, calling them bugs. Driving his spear into the paladin's chest, the enemy leader shatters the human army's morale in an instant. Seeing their leader fall, the survivors drop their weapons and run away, crying in despair. Telling the giants to just play around a bit, the blue commander gives the order to capture the runners alive. Back at the castle, the proto praises the vice commander, saying he pulled max profit with minimum troop damage. Satisfied, he thanks the soldier and the Asura partners for the massive success in defending the floor. Saluting, the white-haired giant guarantees they'll show even better results in the future. Leaving the throne room, the hero finds the kiddo casually eating pudding and asks if she waited long. Hugging his student, he turns to the butler and tells him to leak to the enemy merchants that they have human prisoners for sale. Scared by the audacity, the old man asks if he's really gonna set the enemies free after so much work to lock them up. Laughing at the old guy's panic, the MC says he's not letting anyone go without squeezing every last drop of profit and getting an absurd peace treaty signed. Quoting human politics, he reminds him that the holy nation absolutely does not negotiate with demons. Likewise, the proud empire would never bow down to pay soldier ransoms. The veteran agrees, saying the northern alliances also prefer to fight to the bitter end rather than bow to the underworld. Agreeing, the master states that's exactly why he wants to force the humans to sit at the negotiating table. Breaking down the plan, he points out the invasion was entirely the fault of the humans who crossed the portals for no reason. Closing the trap, he deduces that if the human rulers refuse to pay the ransom out of pure stupidity, the population will revolt against them. Petting the girl's hair, the kid concludes that breaking the enemy's internal trust is the most destructive weapon in a political war. Accepting the boss's craziness, the butler asks for final orders, and the professor tells him to summon the best blacksmiths from all floors. Snuggling her teddy, the shorty asks what on earth the blacksmiths are gonna make. Straight up, the professor announces they're gonna craft a new product to sell right in the humans' faces. Reading the ransom note, the human emperor snorts in anger, saying it's the first time demons are charging a fee to spare lives. Annoyed, the old monarch figures the dumb beasts found someone with a brain to lead their armies. Checking the invoice, the advisor warns that the price is insane, demanding way too much gold, silver, and iron ore per head. Pissed at the disrespect, the emperor suggests sending an army to beat them down and show them who's boss. Shutting that down, the minister warns that sending troops without official cause is stupid, and that the adventurers are to blame. Trying to flex, the monarch claims he doesn't need a reason to take out a demon. Cold and calculating, the advisor drops the truth, warning they have no clue how strong the current demon army actually is. Warning the boss, he throws it in his face that several rank A hunters vanished during the invasion, proving the enemy's absurd power. Slamming his fist on the table, the emperor yells that an empire can't bow down to any monster. Squinting, the minister threatens that if the people find out the king let everyone perish, a revolt is guaranteed. Swallowing his pride and hate, the leader declares they'll pay the ransom, but swears the payback is gonna be heavy. In the master's office, the butler confirms that 3 of the biggest human nations agreed to open their wallets. Smiling at the political win, The guy tells them to prep the delivery and drops an extra little message for the human ambassadors. Showing no mercy, he decrees that anyone who doesn't pay by the end of the week is going to meet their maker early. In the castle courtyard, a bunch of orc blacksmiths grumble, having no clue why the Lord called everyone there. Confused, they wonder what the Majesty's emergency summons is all about. Stepping onto the balcony, the little Lord and the professor appear next to the tall demoness, shocking everyone with the two bosses side by side. Taking the mic, the hero thanks the absolute best crafters in the area for showing up. With a snap of his fingers, a tarp drops, revealing a giant stand loaded with shiny top-tier swords. Amazed by the weapons, the orcs praise the flawless finish on the blades, ruining the mood. The master drops the bomb that every single one of those beauties was made by human hands. Poking their egos, the tall lady challenges the orcs, telling them to copy it and do it better. Furious at the order, the master orc blacksmith thinks it's total garbage to have to copy human trash. Staying quiet, the MC pulls out two swords and tells the grumpy orc to shut up and watch. Firmly, he warns they aren't there to waste time making scrap metal and need to step up their game. Pulling the blacksmith aside, he asks which sword the orc thinks is sharper. Holding the fancy human sword in one hand and the chunky orc sword in the other, the MC braces for impact. Calming the orcs down, the hero says they don't have to copy the swords, but rather study how humans forge things. Pouting, the master blacksmith swallows his pride and agrees to try this so-called human technique. Sighing, the crafter warns the reverse engineering process is going to take a little while to show results. Turning to the two bosses, the master suggests making the grumpy orc the head of weapon production. Handing over a badge, the MC makes it official, giving the short guy the power to boss the other smiths around. Biting back jealousy, an envious orc yells, asking why the old guy got the title if he's never done anything useful. Shooting a death glare at the rebel, the professor throws it in his face that a leader is the one who handles the mess when things hit the fan. Backing up, the scared orc stutters, saying he didn't mean to offend anyone. Gunning the poor guy down with her eyes, the tall lady warns that disobeying her orders there is suicide. With his red eyes glowing with hate, the master threatens to chop the head off anyone who gets in the project's way. Shaking in his boots, the lead blacksmith bows, swearing loyalty and max dedication to the plan. Ending the drama, he promises the workshop will grind non-stop to deliver the weapons. Back in the room, the little girl jumps on the couch, celebrating that she acted like a total badass boss. Petting her head, the hero jokes she doesn't need to try that hard to get a compliment. Killing the cute vibe, he pulls Her Majesty aside to talk money and how the little shop will actually run. Negotiating profits, the master asks what cut the tall woman wants for the partnership. Acting greedy, she immediately demands half of everything they sell. Shutting it down instantly, the girl yells that if the snob wants 50%, she can forget the deal. Clapping back at the shorty, the demoness threatens to stop supplying materials if she doesn't get at least 10% of the gold. Sure he's gonna win, the MC interrupts, saying it's his project and he makes the rules. Full of swagger, he drops the number 5% on the table, warning it sounds low but with the total volume, it's a ton of cash. Shocked by the lowball, the diver realizes the kid's plan goes way beyond just selling little swords. Holding a clipboard, the hero asks if the woman trusts him to run the business. Venting, the demoness admits she trusts his skill to copy the human weapons perfectly. Praising his partner's muscle, he acknowledges the gear she sent was the key to the plan's success. Showing off the blueprints for the new designs, he swears they'll meet demand in no time. Handing over the contract, he tells the diva to read and sign if she doesn't want to miss out on the gravy train. Reading the fine print, the woman freaks out, realizing the deal has a heavy risk clause. Slamming the table, she thinks it's absurd to take the fall alone if the sales tank. With a cheeky smile, the kid reminds his ally there's no free lunch in the Demon Kingdom, and whoever wants to win big has to risk big too. Down in the filthy dungeons, the captured hunters shake with fear in the dark, waiting for their end. Whispering, a veteran adventurer doubts the monsters will actually let them go alive. Passing the clipboard, the butler hands the prisoner list to the professor to pick who's up for the chopping block first. From afar, the prisoners notice the master's sinister figure walking the halls, sizing up the cells. Stopping in front of one cage's bars, the MC orders the door open, calling out the rookie couple. Yelling, the female prisoner demands the guard let her go right now so she can escape this nightmare. Pulling the chained couple, the soldiers shove both of them in front of the master. Staring the duo down, the hero asks the poor souls their names in a terrifying tone. Analyzing the blonde, the professor wants to know if they know a cocky hunter named Luke. Foaming with anger, the boy yells in the MC's face, saying it's the demon's fault his friend vanished. Smiling wickedly, The guy confirms the info and concludes that blonde kid must be the decoy they sent to the middle floor. Without stalling, he orders the butler to grab a pen and paper to write a lovely little note to the humans. Holding a picture up to the rookie couple, the kid shows the missing hunter's face. Desperate, the blonde recognizes his friend Luke's photo and can't figure out how the demons have it. Turning to the butler, the MC confirms if the guy in the pic is actually the spy they sent to the city of Sodor to start the whole mess. Laughing, the master calls the coincidence a huge stroke of luck and orders all the VIP prisoners brought to his office. Remembering the game, he comments that in the human world, there are hunters just as overpowered as the demon lords. When the hostility crossed the line, the 3 legendary heroes would spawn, and one of them was Luke, the sword hero. Explaining the situation, he says the guild leader is ruthless and would never let the kid return alive if he suspected treason. Opening the doors, the guards shove the rookie couple and the blonde spy into the professor's room. Analyzing the massive potential they had in the original game, the hero decides selling them as slaves would be a huge waste. In a commanding tone, the guy offers the 3 of them a chance to serve directly under his and the demon lord's orders. Startled, the old butler interrupts, saying bringing humans into Her Majesty's inner circle will cause political drama. Calming the old man, the master assures him he has his own reasons for this risky play. Giving it straight to the prisoner group, he promises to spare their lives and give them VIP treatment in exchange for absolute loyalty. Cold as ice, he warns that if they refuse, they go back to the dungeon and become regular slaves getting beat every day. Trying to bargain, the pink-haired girl asks what happens to them if they just rot in prison. Surprised, the butler argues the rookies are only locked up because the human leaders didn't give a damn about their ransom. Mocking him, the MC throws it in the spy's face that his own human master sent the kid to a guaranteed demise. Crossing his arms, he gives the ultimatum for the rookie duo to decide if they want to work for him or embrace the misery. With blood in his eyes, the blonde asks if working for the enemy actually guarantees they'll keep breathing. Clenching her fists, the pink-haired girl can't take the pressure and accepts the offer on the spot. Desperate, her friend pulls her, asking if she lost her mind trusting a monstrous demon. Shoving her friend, the girl throws it in his face that the human leaders didn't send a single dime to save them and left everyone to perish. Screaming, she says if it's a choice between dying as a slave or living to serve, she'd rather take the chance. Shielding her choice, she says she doesn't care about making a deal with the devil if it means surviving. Biting his lip, the blonde understands her desperation and caves to the pressure. Bowing his head, he asks to fight too and begs not to be separated from the injured spy. Walking toward them, the master warns that at their current level, humans are just useless trash to the army. Giving them a 3-year deadline, he demands they prove their worth by training hard, or they'll be tossed aside without mercy. The next day, the little lord jumps with excitement for her first official fencing class, pulling from the memories of the ancient warrior controlling the body. The guy admits he's totally cracked at sword fundamentals. Watching the girl hold the weapon with her bear tucked under her arm, he tells her she needs to use both hands to fight. Knowing how attached she is, the vice commander whispers it's gonna be tough making the kiddo drop her late dad's plushie. Gently, the master asks her to drop the bear just for a sec during training, and she obeys instantly, leaving everyone's jaw on the floor. Gripping the sword with both her tiny hands, the little girl focuses all her attention on the professor's lesson. Fixing her stance, he corrects her pivot foot and the way she grips the weapon's hilt. Demonstrating the move, he asks her to copy the firm swing of the blade. Watching from afar, the vice commander is spooked by the girl's perfect posture on day 1 of training. Pulling out a large sword, the master announces today's focus is just on the basic slashing motion and tells his student to pay attention. In the blink of an eye, he unleashes a colossal strike, slicing the wind with insane brutality. Shocked, the shorty stands with her mouth hanging open at the destructive power of a simple swing. Ready to try, the little girl plants her foot and lifts her tiny sword with all the strength she has. From behind her, the MC channels his own monstrous aura, teaching the lord how to fuse magic with the slice. With an absurd crash, the courtyard's stone floor gets split down the middle by their combined strike. Sweating cold, the blue guy watches the destruction, realizing this duo has absolutely no limits. Behind the scenes, the hero knows the damage was only that huge because the little red sword multiplies strength by 500%. Super happy with the crater she opened, the little one asks if she did it right and gets a solid compliment. Putting the weapon away, the professor decrees that real weapon training is over and from now on she's only using a wooden sword, so she doesn't demolish the castle. Giving himself a facepalm, he tries to play it cool that he almost leveled the training yard on day 1. Making small talk, the vice commander brings up the human trio that entered the castle and questions their motives. Reassuring the soldier, the hero says they aren't his apprentices, but mercenaries on a trial run for the Lord. Pouting, the little one tugs the professor's clothes, asking if he's also teaching Her Majesty's Citri. Needy, she makes a pouty face, demanding to be the master's one and only special student in the castle. Melting, the guy promises the shorty is his only true pupil and nobody else. Smiling from ear to ear, the girl lets go of his clothes, totally convinced by his answer. Out of nowhere, the old butler pops up, whispering in the master's ear about the little lord's upcoming birthday. Back in his room, the MC sighs heavily, saying he just landed a massive problem to solve. Teasing the kid, the tall woman mocks him, asking if he called her there just to talk about petty stuff. Complaining, she says if it's boring talk, she's not even gonna listen. Skipping the BS, he keeps it real, saying the topic is the little majesty's birthday present. Cracking up, the alley finds it hilarious the guy is so stressed over a kid's party and jokes she'd hire him if he got fired. Cutting the joke short, he warns he's absolutely not abandoning the little girl. Pitching ideas, she suggests giving her Candy a doll or a giant cake to fix the problem fast. Disagreeing, the hero says she's his first and only student, and he wants to give her something special to boost morale and their bond in the game and in life. Rejecting regular items, the kid remembers the huge crown the girl grabbed from the conquered castle's loot. Suggesting a fix, the diva tells him to take the old jewelry to the blacksmith to fix it and make it fit the kiddo's head. Shocked by the good idea, the MC admits that by some miracle, his ally nailed the advice. That night, the master sneaks through the halls with the fox maid trailing him, plotting to break into the lord's room. Whispering, the commander confirms the cook is distracting the little one in the dining room with pudding, guaranteeing the op is a go. Turning the doorknob super slowly, the hero preps to steal the crown in the dark. Suddenly, the door flies open and the kiddo appears holding her bear, giving the two intruders a heart attack. Stuttering, the guy tries to play it cool, while the lord says she felt his crushing mana from across the hall. Totally innocent, the little girl asks if they came to take her on a midnight stroll. Trying to save the plan, the MC agrees instantly and invites the shorty to look at the full moon in the garden. Admiring the moon, the girl sits on the park bench, enchanted by the glowing view. Disguising his motive, the professor asks if his student likes shiny things just to be sure about the gift. Catching the chill vibe, he asks her to always let him know if she isn't feeling well, and not hide her pain from him. Nodding, she murmurs that she loves his classes and feels great training with the master. Smiling, the hero reinforces that resting is just as important as training and swears to protect the little one from any danger. Playing along, the MC guarantees resting is part of the lesson, smiling with relief that he didn't lose her trust. With a light mood, the two leave the garden, heading back to the castle peacefully. Far away at Floor 70's forge, the master visits the orc blacksmith leader, demanding results. Handing over the crown sketch, he orders the repair, asking to resize it to fit the kiddo's head. The blacksmith says the job will take a week, and the hero demands absolute secrecy so the surprise isn't ruined. Curious, the MC asks for the human weapon prototypes, and the orc shows the first batch, looking a bit awkward. Praising the effort, the guy tells the crew to keep grinding on analyzing the metal to reach perfection. Walking to the main hall, the boy celebrates in his head that the gift is locked down, and all that's left is planning the party. Out of nowhere, an ear-piercing cry cuts through the castle's silence, startling the professor and Her Majesty. Busting the door down, they come face to face with the little lord crying oceans, because she thought the hero vanished forever. Desperate, the girl refuses the maid's pudding, sobbing that she only wants to see her master. Hearing the hero's voice, the shorty stops crying instantly, turning her head slowly. Running like a rocket, the kiddo jumps on his neck, sobbing with relief. Awkwardly, the MC hugs the girl, asking why she started bawling out of nowhere. Whispering, the fox maid explains the little one thought he left for good without saying goodbye. Rubbing her back, the guy apologizes for dipping from the room without a heads up. Trying to understand the drama, he calmly asks what triggered the massive panic. Wiping her tears, the little one confesses she was terrified of being abandoned just like her parents did. With a fatherly look, the hero swears he's gonna stick around taking care of her until she grows up and becomes the most powerful lord of all. Gripping his clothes tight, the little girl asks if he's gonna disappear when she hits the top of the ranks. Freezing on the answer, the kid knows his goal in the game ends exactly when she becomes the supreme lord. Lying smoothly, he forces a smile, saying he'll stay by her side forever. Using the pudding as an excuse, he changes the subject to stop his students' tears. On the inside, the dark side of the ancient demon master wakes up, rejecting the idea of ditching the kiddo. With energy overflowing, the corrupted spirit swears to trap the professor there for eternity if needed. Clueless about the scary possession, the Lord smiles happily at the fake promise. Cut to a week later, with the castle all decked out for the massive birthday bash. In the noble hall, the little one walks down the stairs striking a pose, getting a round of applause from the crowd. Greeting the guests, the girl acts like a true queen, making the commanders proud. Wasting no time, the fox warrior and the blue soldier hand a giant gift box to the boss. Opening the box, the kiddo is amazed by a super fancy custom-made dress. Mocking its simplicity, Her Majesty Citri trashes the dress, saying a demon lord needs to wear heavy bling. Clapping her hands, the diva orders her goons to bring in her own flex of a gift. Jaw dropped, the hero looks at his student, shocked by how extra his ally's gift is. With a smug smile, the demoness shows off the little one shining in a solid gold crown, dress, and necklace. Admitting defeat, the master compliments the tall lady's good taste, and she totally eats up the hype. Flexing her wealth, the shorty thanks her for the luxury gift, and the ally's chest puffs with pride. Pressing the professor, the diva turns to him and says it's time for the main event. Calling the lead orc, the MC tells him to bring the secret box that was under lock and key. Breaking protocol, the cook hands over a brand new teddy bear, making the girl's day. Holding the fancy box, the boy asks if the boss is ready to see his surprise. With the glow hitting her face, the kiddo lets out a scream of pure emotion. Inside the box rests the old crown, completely restored and packed with the magic stone. Wishing her a happy birthday, the hero hands over the sacred jewelry, drawing tears of joy from the Lord. Skipping around, the girl yells that she loved the professor's gift, totally ghosting the diva's necklace. Watching the girl's hair turn white near the jewel, the master realizes the crown helped stabilize her insane energy. Suddenly, he notices two little red horns sprouting from the kiddo's head and freezes in shock. Taking a closer look, the MC touches the horns, trying to process the sudden evolution. Laughing at his panic, the diva explains that horns are the ultimate symbol of demonic power, and that growing them is totally normal. Sighing in relief, the hero admits he thought the cursed crown was hurting the girl and felt guilty for nothing. Super happy, the Lord swears she's not feeling any pain, proving the evolution went smoothly. Pulling him aside, the butler warns the master to be super careful with the horns because they're extremely sensitive. Changing the party vibe, the scene cuts to the blacksmith's floor with the orcs lined up waiting for approval. Doubting the quality, the master asks if the prototypes are ready for a real brawl. Hyping the orcs up, the MC says even failure is good experience for forging better weapons next time. Asking everyone to chill, he tells the crafters not to shake in their boots during the durability tests. Pulling one of the newly forged swords, the boy approves the weight and balance, saying it's identical to a human's. Warning his student, he tells her to step back because the test is going to be brutal. Aiming at the iron dummy in the middle of the yard, the professor focuses his energy into the blade. In the blink of an eye, a beam of black light slices the hull in half, proving the perfect copy's durability and cutting power. Gulping hard, the orc leader waits for the professor's verdict, sweating cold. Looking at the intact blade, the master gives a little smirk and praises the team's flawless work. Crying tears of joy, the blacksmiths hug each other, celebrating their success in copying human tech. Asking for a few tweaks to the blade's edge, the hero announces the weapons are cleared for mass production. Tugging on his shirt, the little one asks if it's time to put the economic destruction plan into action, and he confirms with a loud laugh. Cut to floor 69 at one of the Lord's mansions, with the advisors gossiping. Reading the reports, the guys discuss the rumors that Her Majesty Citri's floor started selling stolen human weapons. The Duke and his goons doubt the quality, thinking they're just scrapped junk looted from the battlefield. A short merchant decides to risk a trip down there to check the merch with his own eyes, since the originals are worth their weight in gold. His partner agrees and says if the quality is truly on par with the humans, the trip will totally pay off. Shocked, the Duke can't get why the guys are so desperate to buy cheap, dirty weapons. Arriving at the castle, the merchants are blown away by how organized the auction is, looking like a king's enterprise. Welcoming the crowd, the MC flexes his confidence, thanking the gossipy businessman for showing up. Whispering in the audience, the guys are surprised to see the mini-lord there, assuming she has no say in the alliance. Analyzing the scene, the merchant concludes Her Majesty Citri is running the trade solo, and that could mean a massive shakeup in the underworld market. Putting his cards on the table, the MC guarantees the weapon's quality is identical to human gear. Surprised, the merchant realizes the demon mentor is putting his own reputation on the line with that promise. Wasting no time, the kid gives it to them straight, Whoever wants to make a deal stays. Whoever doesn't can bounce right now. Exuding an intimidating aura, the tall lord warns that if anyone leaves there with info about the alliance, they won't leave alive. Terrified, one of the merchants asks if that's a death threat, and the master replies it's just a friendly heads up. Under pressure, the merchants exchange looks, and most decide to stay and try to profit off the rare merchandise. Relieved, the head merchant accepts the risk, seeing this as a once-in-a-lifetime chance to level up with a demon partner. Later on, only the 20 greediest guys were left in the room, ready for whatever. Introducing himself as Lord Seer's mentor, the guy takes total control of the negotiation. The merchants are shocked to find out the power behind the op isn't Her Majesty Citri, but the master himself. Pitching the deal, he offers commercial exclusivity for 3 years with a 40-60 profit split. The head merchant questions the cut, and the hero fires back saying it's a joint venture between the two floors, leaving the crowd outraged at his audacity. He casually mentions he's only pocketing 5% for himself. Crunching the numbers, the merchant realizes that even with the split, the profits from human-tier weapons will be astronomical. Comparing a human-made sword to one made by the hero's orcs, everyone is blown away by the identical quality. Running their hands over the blades, the buyers can barely believe that was forged in the underworld. The head merchant realizes that if he secures the 3-year monopoly, he'll be swimming in cash. The master caps production at 400 blades a month, which is low, but it starts building the market. With a sharp look, he lets them know he doesn't plan on stopping at just basic swords. Snapping his fingers, he reveals he's going to supply armor, helmets, and all kinds of battle gear. The merchants take furious notes, hyped as the master describes the full line of equipment. With a complete catalog of light and heavy armor, the orcs prove they have more than enough capacity. Her Majesty Citri winks, thinking she could have charged more. But the hero knows the exact limit. One of the merchants asks if there's a second pitch, and the MC confirms with a mysterious smile. Staring into a dark corner, he invites everyone to follow him down to the dungeon. The merchant recognizes that the plan is worthy of a massive guild and starts respecting the kid. With low stock available, scarcity becomes the trump card to boost the product's value. Giving them a heads up that some will fight tooth and nail for exclusivity, the master preps his trap. Leaving the guests hanging, he tells them he'll be back in a flash. Walking to the dungeon, the hero reveals the second part of the plan involves the humans he captured. Entering the cell block, he finds the captured adventurers desperate, screaming for help. The prisoners get spooked, realizing the demon master is offering them up as trade goods. Explaining the logistics, the MC says he only kept the useful ones and that prison life is temporary, warning them it's a risky job. He swears he won't force anyone to work against their will. Even though they're humans, he knows skilled labor is gold and doesn't hold any prejudice against it. With a sly smile, he says that at the top, everyone is just chasing cash, splitting the groups up. He sorts the prisoners by category and skill. The strong ones are kept for heavy labor building defenses. The pretty and charismatic ones are reserved for entertainment areas. The most dangerous group is set aside for security duty, since they have knight-level strength. Outraged, one of the captured knights yells that he'd rather meet his maker than be a demon's slave. The kid doesn't give a damn about the tantrum and threatens to slap a magic collar on him if he keeps acting cute. The mercenary leader thinks the strict control is weird, but the MC says it's necessary. Casting a dark curse, the master places an obedience seal on the rebel's neck. Feeling terrible pain, the prisoner screams, begging them to stop the torture. Threatening to end anyone who fights back, the master makes his message crystal clear. Pulsing with sinister energy, the magic seal activates, forcing the prisoner into total submission. Collapsed on the ground, the man feels the curse hijacking his movements against his own will. Flexing his power, he shows the merchants he can also do brainwashing as an extra service. Duke Bennett is horrified and asks where the kid learns such cruel control techniques. Impressed by the human merch's effectiveness, the head merchant starts seeing the massive profit potential. The Duke begs for exclusivity in buying these servants and offers double the price. Satisfied, the MC sees the market heating up and sets the stage for the biggest shake-up in kingdom history. Sending the contacts to the merchant, he notes that rumors of the auction will spin around the underworld. The merchant realizes the elite from the upper floors will fight over these new toys. Kane arrives with a letter from the Duke, confirming his interest in the servant auction. The butler suggests they sit back and watch as mere spectators while the market gets destroyed. Flashing an evil smile, the hero plans to take the little one and the diva to watch the chaos unfold. Days later, the commercial castle officially opens as a luxury goods shop. Walking into the store, little Seer is mesmerized by the shiny items scattered everywhere. The shop owner welcomes the mentor and the Lord with all the hype possible, guiding the VIPs through the shop. The merchant shows off his stash of elite magical tools. The adventurer tagging along with the duo notices the store is totally packed with buyers. With lit-up displays, the place looks more like a palace than a regular shop. The adventurers are blown away by the rarity and top-tier level of the magic tools on display. The professor lets the girl pick anything that might help her with her studies. The little one points to a delicate magic pendant glowing with a blue aura. The hero explains that artifact stores mana and is perfect for her current level. A bit scared, she asks if it's gonna blow everything up, but the master calms his student down. He also invites the two humans with them to pick out a gift for themselves. Super happy, the girl grabs the shiniest item on the counter, thinking it's the coolest thing ever. The magic protection pendant sparks a bright glow the second the Lord touches it. Settling the tab, he says the costs will be deducted from floor 72's cut. With time running out, he hurries the little one up so they can head back to the castle before dark. As they walk, the two human prisoners think the mentor is a tyrant, but strangely, he takes care of his people and servants like they're his own family. Explaining that the summer season is going to be perfect, the master announces the start of the auction. Hammer in hand, the auctioneer kicks off the bidding for the human pieces, starting at 5 gold coins. Eyes wide, the prisoner couple realizes that's a direct warning meant for them. Seeing the master looking all smug, the orc blacksmith comments that using the auction to cash in and clear inventory is genius. Outraged, the kid asks the master why he's selling people when he could just set everyone free. In a cold tone, the guy explains he needs subordinates, and you can't win a war with kindness. The little lord laughs, agreeing with the professor, leaving the adventurer speechless at the kid's cruelty. Calling the two prisoners over, the master asks if they regret agreeing to work for him. In silence, the duo swallows their tears, unsure if their lives are worth more than the gold at the auction. With the strike of the gavel, the auctioneer closes the sale, and the prisoners realize they barely escaped becoming some stranger's property. Finally grasping his play, the two admit they made the best choice of their lives by serving this demon master. With a snap of his fingers, the MC's magic aura flares, locking in the loyalty pact. Jumping for joy, the little one leaves the training yard after the master praises her progress. Rocking a new look and way stronger, the Lord celebrates 5 years of hardcore training. Shifting the vibe, the hero announces that the classroom is changing today to a much more fun spot. Feeling lazy, the shorty complains she doesn't want to learn anything boring, but the master insists on the lesson's importance. Leaving no room for whining, the guy warns he won't tolerate any slacking this time. Strolling through the garden, the duo chats about the special date marking the end of an exclusivity contract. The tall LA asks why they aren't renewing the deal, and the MC explains it's time to diversify. With a victorious smirk, he guarantees the merchants are already fed up with the monopoly, and the vibe is ripe for a flip. Bursting with pride, the little one realizes that if they offer hope to the other merchants, they'll turn their backs on the enemy. The hero approves his student's breakdown and says the time to attack Lord Dantalian's credit is now. Sharp as attack, the demon lord mentions the human world is going crazy over the news. With the Empire and the Northern Alliance at each other's throats, the chaos is the perfect backdrop for them to push forward. Pulling out a practice sword, the master starts teaching her the tricks to deal with factions trying to grab power by force. The guy reminds his ally that payback against Lord Dantalian is the main goal of this whole little act. The little girl recalls the master's words from back when he plotted the destruction of the enemy's reputation. With a dark glint in his eyes, the MC confirms playtime is over and it's time to make moves. In a quick meeting with the allies, he announces that 5 years of profit is enough, and the contract ends today. Throwing a super tempting offer at the merchant group, he opens the doors to a new era of business. Pointing to the paperwork, he shows the merchants the sabotage plan run by his rival. The merchants sweat cold, reading the proof that Lord Dantalian had been crossing them for a long time. Furious, one of the bosses asks if it's real, and the hero guarantees he doesn't lie about business. Her Majesty Citri watches it all quietly, seeing the master destroy his rival without even lifting a finger. The guy explains they've built enough trust for the merchants to ditch Dantalian when it counts. With fear kicking in hard, the merchants agree they can't trust the old lord anymore. Kicking her feet up in the office, Her Majesty Citri laughs at how smoothly the sabotage plan played out. The master steps up, warning they can't get sloppy because the enemy is way too crafty. The diva complains he's been super busy, and she barely sees him on her floor lately. With an intense look, the MC drops a comment about the little student's strength, giving the tall lady goosebumps. Claiming the rest will handle itself, he completely trusts his own economic trap. Over at the enemy's castle, a nightmare vibe starts creeping through the halls. A panicked minister rushes in with a report about suspected financial fraud inside Dantalion's guild. The Horned Lord loses his mind seeing the math doesn't add up and the cash mysteriously vanished. The final blow comes when shipments of cheap weapons stop arriving, totally freezing his sales hustle. Warehouses packed with dead stock prove the former lord's absolute failure. The advisor cries, realizing all their cash flow got drained while they tried to keep up appearances. The lord asks who could have leaked the intel from the inside, but finds zero trace. Things get tighter when the blacksmiths relentlessly demand their back pay. The lord has a meltdown realizing he's literally broke and his market credit is zero. The advisors suggest dumping the stock at dirt, cheap prices to save what they can, but the loss will be fatal. The lord looks at Seatree from a distance, feeling she's just waiting for the right moment to strike the final blow. With no way out, he tries hitting up Decorabia for an emergency loan, even knowing it's sketchy. Watching everything through a magic mirror, the MC smiles, seeing his rival drown in his own trap. In the well-lit office, the little lord asks her master how he predicted such a massive disaster. He explains the enemy lord tried hoarding everything to control the market, but ended up choking on his own greed. The kiddo thanks the spy Dane for gathering the data that made the professor's life easier. Pouting, she complains she doesn't like how the professor manipulates people like little chess pieces. He smiles, saying she'll get why it's necessary once she's the supreme ruler. The little girl makes a face, like she doesn't want to grow up, but the master guarantees she's on the right path to rule. The master pets her head while the girl reads the report on the enemy's downfall. With the seriousness of a queen, she realizes the intel he gathered is the most powerful weapon of all. The guy announces he sent Commander Rin to fetch the main item to finish the job. In the audience chamber, the commander walks in with her usual flawless posture. The enemy lord begs Decorabia to send urgent help before everything collapses. The master hands the sword over to Rin, giving the commander her final mission. Looking at the blade, Rin recognizes the forged seal from floor 69. She realizes that weapon is the final piece of the master's scheme to frame their rival. With her usual loyalty, she heads out to the battlefield, ready to seal the enemy's fate. The little lord asks if she did a good job today, and gets a compliment from the master, but immediately demands the promised gift. He gets lost in thought, unsure whether to give a toy or something more serious to his prodigy student. The girl puts on an angry face, letting him know she's over childish little dolls. Annoyed by the delay, she stumps out of the hall, making the MC laugh at the girl's temper. At the portal to the floors, she gathers the disguised delegation to keep their identity a secret. The master warns the mission is delicate and any mistake could ruin everything against the elite knights. Focused on the goal, she draws her weapon, ordering the squad to scatter and hide. Taking charge, Rin orders a silent advance, guaranteeing she won't leave a trail for the enemy to track. Fast as lightning, she charges forward, kicking up dust on her night run. Arriving at the enemy floor's portal, the tension spikes and the danger gets real. Lurking in the shadows, Rin notices the delegation's guard is lacking, making the ambush a breeze. In a flash of light, she kicks off the attack with a clean, lethal slice through the air. Screaming the kill order, the commander tells the soldiers not to leave anyone breathing. Surprised by the wild takedown, the enemy lord's guards panic, having no clue who's attacking. In a wild brawl, Rin drops the last guard as bodies hit the dirt floor. On floor 69, Dantalion gets the news that his entire delegation got wiped out on the road. The advisor confidently states the massacre has all the signs of a hit job. Desperate, the lord points at the sword left at the scene, saying that's from their own stash. Fearing payback, Dantalion warns that Decorabia will use this as an excuse to invade their turf. Boiling with hate, the horned guy concludes Her Majesty Seatree set up the whole mess to turn the upper floors against him. Barking orders, he commands his armies to prep their defenses against Decorabia's imminent strike. A guard runs in, announcing Decorabia's army already crossed the gates and war has officially popped off. Shocked by the speed, the advisor deduces the enemy was ready way before the massacre even happened. Dantalion realizes he walked into a trap and orders all troops to fall back to defend the castle. On floor 72, the little lord and the master watch the chaos from the VIP seats, super satisfied. Smiling, the hero says it's time to act, while the kiddo claps her hands, hyped about the enemies destroying each other. The commander asks if the plan is just to watch or if they're going to cash in on the chaos. The master orders the troops to mobilize, but warns them to only jump into the fight at the very end, once both sides are wrecked. Laughing at the diabolical plan, the crocodile agrees that hitting a tired enemy is the ultimate strategy. Sitting on the throne, the kiddo hands control of the troops over to the scaly veteran, who heads off to war. Starting a chat, The professor tells Rin to evacuate the rich merchants to floor 70 to save the market. He explains the rich folks will seek shelter on the tall alley's floor, where protection is guaranteed but costs a premium. Taking advantage of the panic, the hero states Dantalion lost all his clout, and the trade is going to migrate entirely to them. The play is to make Her Majesty's Cetri fund the asylum while they rake in the heavy cash behind the scenes. With both enemy factions tearing each other apart, the kiddo and the professor's victory is locked in. The little one frowns, showing she's catching on to the dirty side of politics and power. Full of initiative, the girl says she has a better idea and asks the professor to listen. The master listens closely, but thinks attacking Decaribia's forces right now is an absurdly risky move. Pumping her chest with confidence, the little one stomps her foot, saying she's trained hard and wants to show what she can do on the field. The hero stops the kiddo, telling her she's way too young to jump into a real war. Acting tough, the girl yells she's grown up a lot, but the MC doesn't budge and shuts the request down. Deep in thought, he admits the girl is right for wanting to step up, but his protective instinct takes over. Worried about her safety, he knows if the Lord goes down, the whole game is over. And worse, he refuses to see the little one get hurt because of his ambition. Trying to calm the beast, he asks for just a bit more patience before she takes total control. As a consolation prize, he promises to grant her any wish once the war is over. Surprised, the girl asks to go on a date with the master after everything wraps up. The guy laughs, finding the idea innocent, realizing she never really had a chance to just go out and be a normal kid. Hyped, she tells her teddy bears she's going on a real date with the professor. Hugging the bear, she sighs happily, knowing she has the master's attention all to herself. Promising to work hard, the little lord decides she's gonna find a way to end this war fast. Locked on the goal, she hops out of bed and runs to the courtyard with a wild idea in her head. Bumping into Rin, the kiddo orders the commander to pack their bags, because the two of them are sneaking off to the battlefield. Rin tries to say no, but the little one throws it in her face that she's the supreme ruler and learned ancient magic from the professor. The commander gulps, knowing the master would be against it, but her loyalty to the queen backs her into a corner. Questioning her authority, the girl corners Rin, demanding to know who she truly serves. Stomping her foot, the lord decrees her orders override the overprotective little professor. Rin bows her head, swearing loyalty, and the two sneak off to the front lines. The commander begs the lord not to take crazy risks, and the girl lies, saying she got the message. Promising not to get hurt, the shorty is already plotting how she's gonna crush the enemies and impress the hero. Laughing to herself, she walks out of the castle, guaranteeing the master will be proud of her power. On the battlefield, Decaribia's troops pressure Dantalion's defenses in a brutal war of attrition. Archers on the walls try to hold back the advancing enemy army, firing non-stop. The rain of arrows drops several invading soldiers who scream in pain. Suddenly, giant magic weapons from the enemy army power up for heavy bombardment. Cannons fire destructive beams, smashing the castle's defenses in a total horror show. The blast sends soldiers flying, tearing down the main wall. Chunks of rock and dust fly everywhere, burying the castle guards. A rookie cries in panic as the defenses crumble and the enemy army pushes forward. Fear takes over when the enemy soldiers surround the gaps in the wall. Magic fire rips through the sky, and the defenders can barely counterattack. Dantalion's troop commander screams for the army to fall back and regroup. Defending his allies, the Golden Warrior steps in front of the magic shots, proving he's tough as nails. Slicing the magic with his sword, he buys time for a tactical retreat. On impact, the giant sword deflects the energy, bouncing the magic right back onto the field. The Golden Leader hypes his soldiers up, saying backup is on the way. Announcing his arrival, Decaribia's supreme elite knight shows up looking massive on the field. Dantalion's advisor panics, realizing the enemy's force is totally overwhelming. Cursing his own soldiers, the Horned Lord tries to launch magic at the invaders. Summoning green runes in the air, the Lord calls upon Hellfire in a desperate attempt to strike back. A pillar of fire covers the castle gates, roasting the enemy army trying to cross. In shock, the Golden Warrior freezes, seeing the massive flames swallowing the gates. The fire pillar shoots into the sky, torching the soldiers trying to bust the doors down and causing mass panic. Impressed, the advisor praises the Horned Lord's brute strength, who puffs his chest with pride. Riding the momentum, Lord Dantalion orders a heavy counterattack to crush Decaribia's retreating army. Confident, the advisor claims that with one of the enemy leaders down, victory is practically in the bag. Through the smoke, the giant sword glows bright, showing the Golden Warrior isn't done yet. With a brutal swing, the sword pierces a Dantalion commander's chest, shutting down everyone's optimism. The general's body hits the ground, kicking up dust and spreading terror among the defenders. With his golden armor spotless, The elite knight walks through the flames like it's a stroll in the park. Mocking the Lord's ultimate attack, the golden warrior brushes dust off his shoulder and says he only felt a warm breeze. Pulling his giant sword from the dirt, the brute calls Dantalion useless trash. Laughing at the enemy's weakness, he warns that Decaribia's troops are on a completely different level. Foaming with hate, the horned guy insults the golden warrior, saying he only survived because of his cheap armor. Full of himself, the knight defends his gear, saying it was a gift from his lord, and mocks Dantalion's weak magic. Tired of playing games, the golden knight decides to cut the chat and preps to finish the lord and take the castle. With an ear-piercing crash, the ground cracks around the warrior as he channels all his energy. Swinging his giant sword, he unleashes a strike that makes the very air shake from the pressure. Suddenly, the warrior feels a chill down his spine and dodges by instinct, barely escaping getting crushed. Floating in mid-air, the little demon lord arrives with a sadistic smirk on her face, gripping her tiny red sword. Dantalion's advisor almost has a heart attack, seeing the kiddo from the lower floors spawn in the middle of a war. Calling out the golden knight's name, the little girl touches down, striking a pose. She announces with conviction that her professor is taking way too long to act, so she came to handle it herself. Laughing at her audacity, the golden knight says he'll love slicing the kiddo up and gifting her head to his lord. Focused, the little lord activates the crown's ancient magic, and a red aura wraps around her tiny sword. With a lethal whisper, she speaks the name of the forbidden spell, and her eyes glow with insane energy. Summoning the colossal fire skull, the exact one the MC taught her back in the day, the battlefield's heat triples. Eyes wide open, the golden warrior can't understand how a kid can cast a high-level spell without even chanting. Trying to block the blast of flames, the knight's elite armor starts melting on first contact. Using raw strength, he tries to rush in for close combat, betting on his magic armor's durability. Displaying absurd agility, the little lord dodges the heavy strike and lands a fatal blow right in the crack of the enemy's armor. The golden warrior drops to his knees coughing blood, beaten by a kid from the lower floor. Shocked, Dantalion's advisor can barely track the speed of the little girl who cleared the field in seconds. Freaked out, Commander Rin runs toward the little lord, yelling at her not to expose herself so much. The fox freezes seeing Decaribia's elite knight laid out on the ground, unable to believe what the kiddo just pulled off. The crocodile general laughs, super proud of their little ruler's absurd strength. Rin asks if the lord wants to pick a fight with both upper floors at once, acting this reckless. The little girl points her tiny sword at the remaining enemy troops and says if nobody's left to tell the tale, there's no problem. Sweet and cold, the commander tries to warn the lord, but the little girl cuts her off with an evil smile. With the innocence of a psycho, the kiddo suggests blaming the whole massacre on Lord Dantalion. Feeling a creepy energy in the air, the horned lord tries to make sense of the dark aura the kiddo is giving off. Explaining the plan, she says they'll play innocent and claim they only came to save the merchants. Rin feels a chill seeing the little lord perfectly mimic the professor's manipulative behavior. Channeling her master, the shorty raises her hand and orders the troops to attack the survivors with full force. The blue vice commander relays the order, telling floor 70, 2 soldiers to wipe the battlefield clean. On the wall, Dantalion's advisor cries tears of joy, thinking the little girl came to save them, while the horned lord knows they'll have to pay a steep price for this favor. Gathering her ancient mana, the little lord launches a destructive spell straight at Dantalion's castle gates. The blast shatters the main wall, turning the stone to dust with an absurd boom. Dantalion's soldiers scream in terror, thinking the magic earthquake is gonna bury everyone. Crying in panic, the advisor begs for mercy, asking why their ally is attacking them too. Without blinking, the kiddo announces she's nobody's ally and that floor 70, 2 is running the show now. Dantalion tries to cancel the girl's magic with a dispel spell, mocking her arrogance. But his spell fails miserably, swallowed up by the pure energy of the little girl's magic crown. With cold, glowing eyes, the little one suggests they surrender to her, or they can choose to perish under the rubble. The girl's absurd power silences everyone on the battlefield, proving floor 72's supremacy. Behind the lord, the partner army, featuring Rin and the giants, proves the threat is real and annihilation is just a matter of time. Defeated, the horned lord bows to her crushing strength, begging the girl to stop the attack. Giving a little smirk, the kiddo accepts the surrender and demands the submission treaty be signed on the spot. Already in the meeting room of the newly conquered castle, the leaders start reviewing the cruel terms of the forced alliance. Whispering, Rin approaches the lord, warning that this is a mistake because the professor told them to lay low. The little one pouts guiltily, confessing she got carried away, and the master is definitely gonna give her a lecture when he finds out. The meeting room door flies across the room from a brutal kick, and the professor's furious voice echoes through the hall. Everyone jumps out of their chairs, terrified by the master's murderous presence invading the room. With eyes drowned in shadows, the hero glares at the kiddo, freezing the girl in fear instantly. In a flash, he runs over and grabs the little lord in a desperate hug, shocking everyone in the room. Crying with relief, he says thank God she's okay, showing just how much the scare messed him up. Confused by his reaction, the little girl stammers an apology, thinking she was going to get a beatdown for disobeying. Rewinding a bit, the butler reported that the little one and the commander snuck off to the battlefield. In shock, the master couldn't believe his sweet student ran off to war and ordered a portal opened immediately. Totally blinded by worry, the guy admitted he didn't remember teaching the little girl to be a rebel. At that moment, he pictured the Lord hurt or worse and completely lost the rational control he always had. Back to the present in the meeting room, the MC gets his posture back and orders all the generals to leave the room right now. Radiating an aura of absolute fury, he repeats the order in a tone that sends a chill down even the Fox commander's spine. Dantalion feels the weight of the guy's magic pressure, realizing that monster is the true mastermind behind the invasion. Alone, the professor sits in a chair and tells the little girl to explain the whole mess she just made. Trying to defend herself, the little one puffs her chest and says she did everything perfectly, won the war, took out the enemies, and locked up the rival advisor, all to make the master proud. Swallowing his lecture, the guy agrees she actually did a solid job in the end. However, he warns her mistake was revealing her power level to the enemies way too early. Pulling out some paperwork, the master changes the subject and shows the forced alliance treaty he just whipped up. Reading the treaty's conditions, the little girl realizes the professor wants to annex the conquered floor as their new base of operations. Smiling, the hero praises his student's quick thinking and asks if she's ready to sign the document now. In exchange for the signature, the kiddo cashes in on her promised date, and the MC laughs and agrees. Snapping back to reality, the guy warns that Decarabia isn't going to sit still after getting played like that, and they need to prep. Pointing at the defeated lord, the master asks the exact size of the army they're going up against. Dantalion answers that the enemy has 25,000 infantry, 5,000 cavalry, and 1,000 elite mages. Calculating the damage, the hero concludes that at least half of them already bit the dust in the last battle, which takes off some heat. The defeated advisor confesses with shame that Dantalion's own army is basically at zero. Super chill, the MC remembers that Her Majesty Citri is still an ace up their sleeve to help out. Feeling guilty, the little girl hugs the professor's leg, thinking she made the war worse. Petting the lord's head, the master says the game just went off the script he had in his head a little bit. With a dark look, he admits he's gonna have to play the trump card he wanted to hide the most to fix the mess. In Decarabia's castle, the lord hears the report that the Golden Knight is gone and another general got captured. Yelling at the remaining generals, the horned guy trashes the incompetence of the Pentagram's elite knights. The last generals beg for one final chance to massacre Dantalion once and for all. Boiling with hate, Decarabia warns that this time he wants the little lord's head on a spike. Away from the boss, one of the generals whispers that the fortress attack should have been a walk in the park. A winged Dimonus complains that her colleague only has stupid plans, and that they underestimated the enemy's defense. Firing back, the other general blames their fallen teammate, saying it was his fault for only focusing on armor defense. The third member of the group ponders that the captured knight made the right call to fall back when the Fox commander showed up. Impressed, the green general admits the little lord managed to build a formidable army out of thin air. Confident, the blue general declares they still have the numbers advantage and will crush the weaklings in a head-on battle. The Dimonus agrees, reminding them that their ally Citri can't get directly involved without picking a fight with the upper floors. Prepping their weapons, the generals decide to strike fast before the enemy can call in backup. Cut to the war, with the green general panicking after getting word of a surprise attack on his troops. On a sunny plain, the master, the lord, and the Fox commander watch the battlefield totally relaxed. Confused by his chill vibe, Commander Rin asks how the professor got help from Citri's troops without breaking the neutrality rules. The Fox suspects the master played it safe, since he always sets up bulletproof schemes. The MC laughs and confesses that this time the mess got a little out of hand, but promises he isn't blaming the commander. Taking responsibility, he says he failed to read the little lord's rebellious streak, so he's stepping into the fight to minimize losses. Ordering the commander and the troops to stay put and guard the rear, the master draws his weapon. Shocked, the Fox asks if the crazy guy is going to charge the enemy line solo. Snapping his fingers, he says no and reveals he brought a backup duo to support him in the takedown. Revealing the human prisoners, the guy announces he doesn't trust them 100%. And this is their ultimate trial by fire. Hyped, the humans agree to prove their worth, desperate to secure their freedom at any cost. Scanning the valley, the adventurers mention that ambushing Decarabia was a breeze thanks to the professor's intuition, unleashing a deadly black aura. The hero admits his only problem is he has no clue about his own strength, and this attack is the ultimate test to measure his limit. Behind the scenes, he confesses he only stopped the Lord from fighting because he feared he couldn't protect the girl if his strength failed mid-combat. Walking toward the cliff's edge, the human duo points out the enemy scouts at the bottom of the valley. Decarabia's massive army floods the valley, proving the battle is going to be brutal. Smiling wickedly, the hero calls his apprentices to go give the enemies a warm reload. Down below, the Green General hears the scouts report they spotted the enemy army on top of the hill. Looking from afar, the Blue General mocks them, saying he only sees one single dude standing at the edge of the valley. The big guy mounts his horse, warning that it smells like a trap and suggests sending spies to check the area. The winged demoness loses her patience and calls his caution cowardice, claiming the enemy is running scared. Mocking her colleagues, the harpy asks how they could be setting a trap if there's zero magic being cast up there. The Green General tries to argue, but the winged girl calls everyone cowards and spreads her wings. Yelling that she'll handle it herself, the demoness flies, tearing through the air straight toward the solo hero. The Blue General looks down on her impulsive move, bringing up the fallen Golden Knight, who also thought he was invincible. Flying fast, the harpy locks onto her target, swearing she won't just stand around like the other idiots. Taunting him, she screams that it's impossible to hit a flying target at the speed she can reach. With her claws ready, the demoness vows to show the enemy the true terror of the skies. At the top of the hill, the master just smiles and whispers a simple magic command. In the blink of an eye, a pillar of black energy pierces right through the winged demoness's stomach in mid-air. Coughing up a storm, the harpy freezes in the sky, having no idea how a clean hit like that caught her in motion. Her lifeless body plummets to the ground with a thud that silences the entire army. The Blue General chokes on his own words, stunned by his partner's instant drop. Shaking his head, the professor clicks his tongue, disappointed by demons who rush in, talk too much, and do too little. Raising his hand, he summons a giant demonic whale that blacks out the sky over the valley. Locking onto the terrified army, he orders the summoned monster to take out the trash. In a colossal strike, the whale summons a shower of black meteors, annihilating half the army in seconds. The beast roars, tearing up the ground and launching horses into the air amidst the chaos. The Green General runs desperately, warning his partner that the mission is a total disaster and the monster is celestial rank. Shaking in his boots, the Blue General flees on his horse, demanding to know who the heck summoned that nightmare. On top of the hill, the master radiates pure power, ready to ensure not a single enemy escapes alive. The human apprentices sweat cold watching the wild takedown, and the kid asks if they really even need to help. The pink-haired girl pulls her knife and says they need to make themselves useful fast if they want to survive that tyrant. Leaping down the hill, the blonde kid draws his sword infused with golden magic, slicing down the runners. The girl activates her support magic, healing and speeding up her partner's moves on the front line. With a lightning-fast strike, the human swordsman takes down 3 demons at once, drawing attention. A giant demon tries to hit back with a sledgehammer, but the human blocks it with ease. The support casts a perfect magic shield, protecting her partner from the heavy hit and setting up a counterattack. The human dodges on pure reflex as the brute smashes the ground with a punch. Seeing the enemy's weak guard, he calls in backup to crush the retreating demons for good. With his heart in his throat, the blonde feels the danger of fighting real monsters for the first time. Doing a backflip, he buries his blade in the chest of a demon who screams in pain. The hunter leader notices the slaughter and orders a retreat, yelling that the allies can't handle the pressure. Bleeding, he curses the adventurers, calling everyone useless cowards. The demonic beast swoops down, digging its claws into the hunter's chest, swearing to tear him to shreds. Without hesitation, the blonde kid throws his sword, blocking a lethal surprise attack aimed at the girl. The impact cuts the wind in half, taking the monster's head right off before it even has time to blink. The demon master warns the kid not to lose focus, otherwise he's gonna get himself eliminated over nothing. With glowing eyes, the pink-haired girl realizes her support magic is way stronger now. A giant demon corners the girl, asking where her master is, ready to strike. Pointing down, she says the professor is right there, while the master guns the enemy down with his glare. Watching the absurd power, The little lord says one day she'll be just as strong as him. Out of nowhere, Her Majesty Citri pops up, praising the professor's strength and startling everyone with her surprise entrance. Embarrassed, the little lord apologizes for being stubborn and sneaking off to the war. Jealous, the girl shoots a death glare at the diva who's flirting with her professor. Smiling cheekily, the MC refuses the apology, saying the mistake was his for underestimating his student's skills. The fox runs up panting, saying she found the human couple and everyone is safe and sound. The blonde falls to his knees, thankful they survived the wild brawl. With a serious stance, the master asks what on earth Her Majesty Citri is doing out there in the middle of a war. Explaining she cleared out the rest of the field, the tall woman says she came to provide cover so the little lord wouldn't get hurt. Smiling from ear to ear, the girl celebrates that the enemy castle is empty and free for the taking. The professor praises the two humans, saying their 5 years of training finally paid off. Telling everyone to rest up, he announces they'll get their own missions as soon as they head back to base. Flashing a slight smirk, he mutters that with floor 68 under their control, the only thing left is finding that. Tossed on the ground, Lord Decorabia coughs up a storm, totally humiliated. Analyzing the scene, the master says the enemy isn't an issue anymore since the little lord got way too strong. The fox commander is left speechless seeing the lord use high-level ancient magic, remembering that power was supposed to be extinct. Yelling while tied up, the enemy lord insults the girl and the professor, saying the monster there is him, not the kiddo. The fox commander rushes over and pins the downed lord, yanking his arm back in a sharp hold. Giving the execution order, the kiddo asks if the soldier is ready to finish the job. In the final moment, the enemy lord cries, begging not to meet his maker and offering to do anything. Stuttering, he begs for mercy while the fox tightens the arm lock. Curious, the lord asks the master why a demon running an entire floor is so weak. Feeling pity, the girl tells the commander to let the prisoner go, saying she's disgusted by the idea of taking down a coward. The fox follows orders and releases the lord, who drops to the ground panting and whining. The master walks up, warning he's only breathing because he's got useful info to spill. Confused, the little lord asks if there's something shady about the horn guy's surrender. The professor points at the downed body, confirming Lord Decorabia is just an empty shell of power. Getting serious, he confesses he lied and that if they hadn't moved first, the defenses would have crumbled to the enemy. Kicking the prisoner in the face, he calls the lord a manipulative piece of trash. Groaning in pain, the horned guy mutters that he can't fight against invincible monsters. The fox doesn't understand why they don't just finish the job, seeing as the guy is a walking liability. With a dark voice, the professor warns he's not keeping the guy alive out of pity, but because he's going to use him as a doormat. The MC explains the main focus here is finding the Starstone mines located in enemy territory. He knows the mines' locations changed every playthrough, so it's impossible to find them without the local lord's map. The boy grumbles that he tried to capture the generals alive to interrogate them, but ended up beating them all down by accident. Her Majesty Citri steps up and warns that lords can't be brainwashed, making the interrogation tricky. Walking with swagger, the diva greets the downed lord, who shakes at the sight of the ally. Faking a smile, she says she heard they needed a little help with the questioning. Flirting hard, she complains that the professor vanished and abandoned her at the castle. The little lord glares daggers at the tall woman, hating her getting close to the hero. The guy notices the heavy vibe and tells the kiddo to go take a walk so she doesn't have to watch the torture. The shorty storms off pouting, while Citri gets ready to rip the secrets out of the prisoner. Satisfied, the MC thanks Her Majesty for using her special skills to fix the issue. The professor explains Citri is the only one who doesn't use fire, but instead uses seduction magic to break minds. The tall lady flashes a smile at the horned guy and starts using her silky voice to charm the poor dude. The pink aura of seduction swallows the lord's mind, and he starts hallucinating with instant passion. Completely hypnotized, the lord hands over all the secret mine coordinates to the demoness without blinking. Melting, the prisoner cries, declaring his eternal love for Her Majesty, while she breathes fire on him out of disgust. The master thanks her for the favor and says the star stones are their new hustle, so they don't have to rely just on selling weapons. He admits he didn't think his ally would come collect the favor so fast, and she flirts, asking for a cut of the profits. The little lord comes back and asks why the diva is begging for more cash when she barely did anything. The guy jumps in, saying he's handing over the rights to floor 68 to Her Majesty in exchange for her silence. He warns that on paper the conquest belongs to her, and if she wants the whole castle for free, she can have it. The woman backs out terrified, knowing the upper floors will come after her if she claims she conquered another territory. Laughing at her panic, The professor says only an idiot would take on that massive drama alone. In exchange for the favor, he offers Citri half of the star stones for a full partnership. She accepts, shaking the master's hand, knowing the risk is worth the money. The little lord also signs the pact, furious that the woman is getting way too much credit. The MC tries to calm the girl down, saying business is business. Jealous, the girl demands the professor never pay attention to the diva again, and he agrees with a laugh. Her Majesty notices the little queen is dying of jealousy and decides to stop teasing the master. The boy looks at the girl and says now they're gonna enjoy their vacation together like he promised, and she smiles relieved. Getting back to business, the professor confirms he'll handle the mess in the mines solo. That night, the hero visits the little lord's room, thinking back on their last date. Whining, the kiddo stomps her foot, saying she's a grown lady now and doesn't want to be treated like a child. Grabbing his arm, the girl confesses the only thing she wants from the date is to walk around holding hands. Already at the secret mine, the master announces he sent everyone home early so he could snoop around alone with no nosy people. Startled, the stone monster asks if the MC has some special skill for tracking wars. Calling the shots, the guy orders the statue to dig through the rocks looking for a lost gold bracelet stuck in the wall. Scouring the dark cave, the monster tries to figure out why a precious bracelet would be buried out in the middle of nowhere. The MC sighs, agreeing that hiding treasure in rocks makes absolutely zero sense unless life is a freaking video game. Looking around, the master praises the mine, saying the old lord could have lived off just selling those expensive stones for the rest of his life. Flashing a wicked grin, the hero remembers that now half of that massive fortune is going straight into their pockets. Focused on the next step, he knows the cash from the stones is gonna fund the supreme army the kiddo needs. Deep in thought, the master admits that without a strong army, their base will fall fast when the upper lords decide to strike. Tapping on the rock, the stone statue announces it found a weird hole hidden in the dark. Using magic, the guy lights up the secret passage, confirming they found the hidden treasure. In a quick move, he casts an extraction spell, smashing the wall without breaking a sweat. The blue flash explodes in the professor's face as the stone gives way. Smiling satisfied, he finally grabs the shiny bracelet out of the dust. Analyzing the piece, the MC confirms he found the special growth rate boosting item that breaks the game. Checking the item's stats on the system panel, he's blown away by the ancient bracelet's overpowered bonuses. Exhausted, the stone monster faceplants on the ground, whining that the search drained all its energy. The beast grumbles that it felt its whole body about to shatter from the professor's magical pressure. Back at the office, the human apprentice duo hands the finished blood-sealed paperwork to the butler. Confused, the blonde boy asks why the master didn't brand them with a hot iron like he did the other prisoners. Reading the contract, the old butler smiles satisfied, confirming the kids passed the trust test. Winking, the little lord praises the duo's efficiency and approves of their loyalty. Staying humble, the professor returns the compliment, reminding them that the shorty acted like a true ruler when it counted. With her bags packed, the girl cashes in on her date, excitedly tugging on the professor's clothes. Petting her head, the MC guarantees their date is happening in the human city the very next day. Handing over the stolen bracelet, he says the gift is the secret ace to make her even stronger. Screaming with joy, the little one hugs the jewelry, thinking it's the most beautiful present in the world. Dropping a tip, the hero demands she never takes the bracelet off her arm, not even to take a bath. Arriving in the human city, the rookie doe's disguise easily fools the guards at the capital's entrance. Remembering the master's orders, the blonde repeats their main mission is to spy on the city and send weekly reports back to the castle. As they split up, the kid says he's heading to another town and they'll meet up once a month to swap notes. Tense, the blonde asks if the fake papers will really throw off the Holy Inquisition. The girl tries to calm her partner, but she's also terrified of getting caught and turned into barbecue. Giving a goodbye hug, she reminds him they only have each other in this crazy world. Teasing her partner, she tells him not to get into bar fights so he doesn't screw up their cover. Handing him a magic necklace, she guarantees the jewelry will save his life if things hit the fan. The girl explains the necklace sends an alert when one of them is in danger so the other can run to the rescue. Separated, the rookie walks down the road, thinking the place is way too quiet for a war zone, and bumps into a farmer. Threatening the girl, the hillbilly pulls out a pitchfork, demanding a toll to pass. Mocking the thief's face, she laughs, saying they totally suck at this and asks why they're robbing people. Desperate, the farmer confesses they're stealing because the whole freaking country lost its mind. The bandit cries, explaining the king lost it and ordered them to burn villages down to take out some imaginary demons. The pink-haired girl's eyes go wide, unable to believe the insanity of the witch hunt. Feeling pity, the old guy assumes the rookie was isolated in the mountains, and that's why she doesn't know about the mess going down. The goon jumps into the chat, trying to extort the girl by saying the folks there will protect her for cash. Turning her back, the adventurer turns down the help and keeps walking, ignoring the hillbillies. Far away, the Holy Inquisition busts down house doors, dragging women to the ultimate time, out in the middle of the night. Brutish soldiers assault families, ripping kids out of their mother's arms while hunting for witches. Deep in thought, the girl concludes the Pope lost it and ordered the army to eliminate innocent people, just to dodge the blame for the disappearances. In a tavern chat, a drunk guy defends the Pope, saying he's just following divine orders and cleaning up the city. Shocked, the rookie realizes the public got brainwashed and thinks the wild takedown is justified. At the Grand Temple, the scene cuts to the gross, fat Pope taking a luxury bath and laughing at his own cruelty. Stepping out of the tub, the disgusting old guy rubs himself, praising his own scheme of using fear to manipulate the peasants. In the secret chamber, a creepy advisor asks the geezer how the takedown of the innocents is going. Slipping on his robe, he laughs, claiming the entire kingdom is on its knees begging for the salvation only he provides. Laying on the bed, the seductive woman praises the religious leader, calling him an evil genius for controlling the whole country with lies. Kissing the bedroom floor, the gross Pope bows like a total doormat, worshipping the lady in lingerie. Laughing sadistically, the true villain behind the fake church reveals herself, pulling the strings on everyone's destruction from the shadows.